Hey, thanks for clicking into this conversation with my old friend Ray, who is a molecular biologist with a decade of experience coming out of the Netherlands. He's also a musician since he picked up the bass guitar 20 years ago and has since expanded into a number of instruments, with a lot of it focusing on acoustic and electric guitar. So kick back and listen to us chat about some of the journey of some of our favorite musicians out there. Listen to some applications of fungal and mushroom research, our conversation about the historical epic of Gilgamesh, and of course, how turbochargers work. Enjoy. Ray, so good to see you, dude.
Yeah, good to see you too, man.
Thanks for hopping on.
Oh yeah, anytime. I was very excited to hear that you were starting a podcast. I heard it actually from Lee.
Yeah, he told you before.
Yeah, and I thought, oh shoot, I haven't heard about this. This is exciting development from you. So I have watched/listened to the first two episodes. Great stuff.
Man,
And
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, I was about to say when we started this recording, cue the guitar.
Yes. Oh, okay. I gotta tell you about that. Because my initial thought was I was eventually gonna ask you if you would like to play any music to set up the intro. That's AI generated, completely AI generated.
No,
I think it was
really?
Gemini. Yeah, I think it was Gemini. Yeah. So I was playing around with it. Well, I was looking at like specific websites to generate music because there's like 10 of them now, but they all charge you money. And I was like, well, I don't even know if this stuff is any good. I mean, we'll talk about AI music for sure, but I was like, I don't know if this stuff is any good. Let me at least like get my feet wet. And Gemini has a tool, and I pay for their like workspace thing on Google for this. So I was like, all right, let me trial that. Gemini's probably not going to be the best music one, but at least it'll get me started. And to be honest, it's like that. It's a little rock jingo. I think I was asking for like blues and rock, and I copied and pasted some stuff I really like. And I mean, it was good enough, to be honest. It's good enough, but brother, it's nowhere near anything that.
You're not happy about it. I was impressed.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy of all people for you to say that, because I mean, here's the thing: you're a one-man band at this point. You started with bass, and now you're like you just do everything.
Yeah. I haven't been recording as much recently, though. Yeah.
What's held you? Okay, so all right, I'll start with the evolution of your music because it starts with the Red Hot Chili Peppers and it's not Chad Smith, not Frusciante. I can't believe I forgot his name.
Flea?
Who's the bassist? Flea. How did I forget? Of all the names to forget. So you were playing Flea 20 something years ago. And that has evolved. I don't want to say evolved, but it has expanded to jazz, and I think you're doing folk. You did a ton of rock, and but you also ended up changing your instruments. So you started with bass. You got really comfortable bass. You were doing your the slap bass stuff, playing around with that. You learned a ton of stuff, and I think after 1.5 years, you switched to guitar, and you were on guitar for a long time.
Yeah.
Then you switched to keyboard. And I don't even know where you're at now, man. I know you're doing a little bit of vocals too.
Yeah, so that's why I have this microphone, if anything, you know.
It was either that or gaming. I was like, it's either that or it's when you like are destroying folks on Halo. It's one or the other.
Oh no, to trash talk to all the other people. No, that's I have not been putting my voice onto the internet, talking to random people on the gaming sphere. But I started off, as you said, I think I started off on the bass ultimately because that was the first instrument that was available for me to play. It was my sister's, if you remember.
Yeah,
my sister had a bass lying around. She wasn't playing it. I was going to college to room with you, and I thought I might as well just take this along. Maybe it's something fun. I didn't realize it will stick. I didn't realize it will be the one thing that's stuck throughout this entire time. Yeah.
Am I right? Was it Red Hot Chili Peppers that you started with?
You know, the first bass line I learned from the song was "Since You've Been Gone" by who is that? Carrie Clapton, I think.
Okay.
Carrie Clapton.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a pop song from the 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first American Idol, I think.
Yeah.
It was that because somebody wanted to sing that song, I think. And I thought, okay, I don't know how to play this stuff. So that was ultimately, if you start playing bass, eventually you have to listen to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, in my opinion. The bass line is fantastic. It's fantastic stuff. And if you consider that the band is just 4 people, it's one vocal, one guitar, one bass, one drum. And they are able to create that sound is pretty amazing. And part of it is the dynamic that comes from the bass line of Flea. Yeah, it's inspirational stuff.
You know, that's super interesting because I think my musical taste definitely developed in college. I think before that it was mostly whatever was on FM radio. There was not really much forethought to it. It was like, this is popular, I'm going to listen to this. And I mean, a lot of popular stuff is great stuff for sure, but it was not introspective at all. The Red Hot Chili Peppers was definitely there, but I hadn't really delved into their music. I think for me it really started with it was when Lee introduced at least me to the blues, and I think the thing that really got me was Eric Clapton, especially when he was in Cream.
Yeah. Oh, it's the Cream stuff. There you go.
And it was only 3 people. It's only 3 people.
It was 3 people.
Ginger Baker, Clapton, and
oh crap,
Jack Bruce.
Jack Bruce. There we go. Jack Bruce.
2 first names. Jack Bruce.
Yeah, same deal, right? The amount of sound they can create just with 3 instruments, and it is what they're playing, and the instruments. Yeah, but that's the special sauce in the end.
Yeah. What's amazing is their music was it was strong. Like the percussions were heavy, the harmonica was heavy, the bass was heavy, the everything was heavy, and it was just 3 people. And if you think about like the sound that they generated, like it reverberates.
Yeah.
It's just 3 people.
Can you imagine that these guys were playing in small clubs, super loud?
Yeah.
In the 60s, in these small clubs packed with people in London. That must have been amazing to listen to.
You know, something I have to keep reminding myself of, and I've got a ton of respect for the Brits for this, is like their impact on rock and blues is so massive. And it's just an island. It's just an island that just, I mean, you know, they like Clapton found Jimi Hendrix and he was inspired by some other American artist. And then he took blues and rock to another level. Not just him, but like, I hope I get the bands right. Was Led Zeppelin American or British? Yeah,
that was
British.
Yep.
Rolling Stones, British.
Yeah.
And they definitely defined it. You know, I just heard I recently found out there's a woman named Joss Stone. I don't know if you've heard her music.
Yeah.
She's I mean, I think she does a little bit of everything, which is awesome. But I heard some of her more bluesy rock songs. And I was just like, I just assumed American. I was like, man, it's just so bluesy, so rocky, so like 60s, 70s American rock.
Yeah.
And then I heard her in an interview, and I was like, oh, she's like proper British. And then it's like I have to remind myself, like, oh yeah, the British rock influence is so big that it's like I almost consider it hand in hand with the same way American rock developed.
Yeah. At least the influence that American and British rock has on the English Anglo-spherical influence on this musical styles is immense, right? And you know, I don't know why this was the case for Britain, but I'd imagine it's because there was the barrier of language was minimal from rock and roll coming from the United States going to Britain. And the records, for example, once the war was over, World War II was over, records started going into England from U.S. And that I think they were some of the first people who had access to it within Europe.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that really
I mean,
helped it.
we have to remind ourselves this was before the digital age. Like this is
Absolutely.
when, I mean, even when we grew up, if we wanted to share music, like CD parties were a thing. And even then, at least we had radio, and it was relatively easy for us to replicate cassettes, and like there was magazines, or there were catalogs out that you could order music from, and it wasn't that hard. I mean, compared to today, it's a different story. But imagine in the 60s and 70s, it's like
Yeah.
if a record comes across the pond, that's a big deal, you know.
Yeah,
Like
that's
if
a
you're
big
the
deal. Yeah.
person that's holding a Muddy Waters record in your home, people
Yeah.
are gonna want to come over and like listen to the vinyl.
Yeah. Have you read Keith Richards' biography?
Is that one Life?
Autobiography? I think it was called Life. Yeah.
I haven't. It's on my list. I'll probably get to it in a few weeks or in a couple of months.
Yeah.
It's pretty high on my list.
Yeah, it's an interesting read. And if I recall, he was writing about the first times he listened to blues and American music. And it was that all these young British kids always knew that one guy who was the record collector, you know? This one guy, I don't know how old it is. I'm assuming he's still like, he's teenage or maybe college age, you know, some guy, cool guy who has a collection of and access to American records.
Yeah.
And they'll go over to his place and listen to all this stuff.
I think at that time hoarding had value to it, you know, like if you're a collector of some item that you can't really find digitally anywhere, that's a respectable person in the neighborhood.
That was a respectable person in the neighborhood. And it was by word of mouth, right?
Yeah.
These kids would go to school and say, yeah, I went to this guy's house last night. This guy has so many records.
Yeah.
Let's go tonight. He said we could come over, and life's changed.
Yeah. You know, I think the last time I listened to a vinyl, well, this is convenient. It happens to be at Lee's place. This was a couple of years ago.
Oh.
Where we put on some jazz. We put on I can't remember who. It's possible it was Duke Ellington. It was definitely one of the kings of jazz around the 60s and 70s. It's just a different vibe. It's like this is curated music with the set soundtrack, and you can't like just skip over a song. It's like you listen to it. I mean, even before, like, I mean, now I don't do it, but even when I was getting to music in like the 2000s, I was still listening to albums. I would very specifically listen to an album. I didn't listen to a song. I didn't listen to an artist. I would listen to an album, and I would go through the list. I would not put on random. I would go from top to bottom. And I remember, like, I did this a lot with Joe Bonamassa, for example. And like, by the time I found Bonamassa's music, I think he was only 5 albums in. I mean, he's like 10 or 15 albums in now. But he was already. I first heard of him from the Crossroads Festival, which we went to. I think the Chicago one we went to.
Oh, that's how you learned about him.
Yeah, it was either that or the one in I think New York. There was one, or New Jersey.
Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden. It was one of those two, and I was like, man, this is amazing. And then after, you know, we go home, they started putting some of the stuff on YouTube, and that's when I found Bonamassa. And when I was listening to his stuff, it was very much in order. And man, the one that really blew my mind, and this is still, I share this album with so many people. Is the Vienna Opera House, where he does an acoustic set. Well, most of it is acoustic. Some of it is a little bit like orchestra stuff. But it is so good. I mean, his music is still amazing. He doesn't really touch that realm very often. I mean, he can, but he's done more rock since then. But I think that's what makes that album so special. It's so different, but it is a blend of what I know, like that blues and rock. But it's like, let me give it to you in a different style. And I love his voice too. Like the way he sings, the way he plays, just everything about that guy is just phenomenal.
Yeah, that album, I listened to it after you recommended it.
Yeah,
I was like, it's been a while since I listened to Joe Bonamassa.
Yeah.
Like what I really like about Joe Bonamassa is his phrasing on the guitar when he solos. There's after a certain point you start listening to many blues, just like blues guitar players, and the approach to the guitar, to the soloing, the phrasing starts to fall within this, I guess, a normal distribution of how it's phrased. And then there's
the bell curve.
Yes, there's a bell curve. And then you hear certain people, like Joe Bonamassa, that's different, or Derek Trucks.
Oh, yeah.
These guys have other influences in there, like jazz or funk, for example. Or in the case of Derek Trucks, it's like soul music. He was trying to mimic soul singers and the gospel singers on the guitar. Yeah, that gives it a different flavor, different phrasing, different sound, and the note choices. And that's what I really appreciate about Joe Bonamassa, because that in combination with the speed and his smooth tone is like, oh, that's wicked stuff. Scary, really.
It really is. I mean, oftentimes I think about how does a new artist make it when they're sitting on, this phrase. I think Isaac Newton said this in terms of science. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. But at some point, it seems like, how can you add anything to what the giants have done? And I mean, Bonamassa, he's pretty young for what he's accomplished. But I would still call him the new generation, right? He's still going, still doing new stuff. Even like, I guess we could say the next generation would be like Gary Clark Jr. and Chris Stone, Kingfish. I think we chatted.
I was about to say Kingfish Ingram.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's so young too. He's like 24, maybe.
Yeah, he's young.
But even one of the songs, I think one of the first songs that really captivated me by him was "Empty Promises," and it's a slow blues song. And when this guy sings, you're like, this guy has gone through some shit. Like he's felt pain, and he's had that cathartic release of it. And he does that so beautifully. And he was only, I think, 20. He was possibly 18 when he wrote that song.
Yeah.
I think now he's 24, and he's one of those just, he's the kind of guy, like when I listen to him, I think, oh, I could hear a little bit of B.B. King in him, but it's not B.B. King. It's his own. It's his own thing. You listen to this guy and you're like, he is fresh blood that is making something new. But the influencers are pretty strongly there. So I mean, he's another guy that I hope to see 20 years from now that he's still like doing his own thing and just constantly evolving, or he could play the same stuff over and over again. That's cool with me too, man. It's just it's the kind of stuff that you can really get a sense of, like when it's on, you're like, this is he's speaking, he's talking, just something that's resonating. Deep, certainly more deeper than like a cerebral account of this is cool. No, it shakes you.
Yeah. The you're talking about if these newer generations, what makes them distinct in some ways from compared to how their influences are. Or you were talking about Isaac Newton's Shoulders of Giants, right?
Yeah.
If we consider B.B. King, that's a giant of blues.
Yeah.
And the influence that he has, Eric Clapton has, on all these guitar players is immense. Then there's a situation where for a musician, there's the desire to create something different. And what makes it different is ultimately their perspective on their life and the perspective of music. Because a person can try to mimic Eric Clapton as much as possible, but they'll end up being a mimic. But as soon as they start doing something different from what Eric Clapton does, they become themselves more. And that's perhaps the magic of it. Now, there's many people who are happy about being a mimic. And maybe this is a poor way to describe it, but there are many people who just want to say, I want to play just like SRV. And so I know all the SRV licks, I know all his songs, and that's what I do. That's what I enjoy. Great. That's a technical accomplishment in itself. But many of us are complex human beings with many different influences. And it's a missed opportunity to not pursue some of these combinations of or a mixture of influences.
Well, Ray, then I got to ask, brother, what are you experimenting with lately? Because first of all,
yeah.
it's multiple genres that I know that you've really stretched across. Actually, I think the last time we spoke about this, you were exploring folk, and I'm not, to be honest, I'm not sure what kind of folk we're talking like, but I'm guessing something like Billie Holiday or early how could I the Grammy Award winner, the Recluse,
Norman Blake.
Not Norman Blake, the him too, but
J.J.
the guy, he
Cale.
was in a motorcycle accident. He broke into rock after like 2 or 3 folk
I'm talking about Bob
things.
Dylan.
Bob Dylan, of course. Bob. Well, to be fair, I don't think that's his real name.
No, it was Robert. Oh dear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
anyway. So I'm not exactly sure where and what you're exploring, but the other thing that I think is really interesting about you is you very much had this, I think, this like urge that you could not quench, which was to expand into other instruments as well. Like, I know you spent a lot of time on keyboard. I don't know if you got to drums.
Drums, it's funny, I got to finger drumming. You use these electronic pads. That's like there's 16 small squares on it, and you can do it like this. Yeah. That's fun. That's quite a lot of fun. That is the compromise I came with for getting into drums.
It probably won't disturb the cat as much.
No, well, she's deaf, so fortunately, nothing is going to disturb her. Yeah.
All right.
But it doesn't disturb my wife, that's for sure.
That's good. So what is the genre, though? Like, what are you kind of playing with? What are you putting together?
That's a good question. Right now, you said folk. I think what I'm trying to... So I don't play in a group right now. I don't play in a dedicated band, which has been a very interesting change in the last 4.5, 5 years, actually since COVID, because it's released me from a schedule-based playing. It allows me to play whatever I want to. If it comes to a point where I feel like I want to record some guitar and do some blues rocky stuff, I could mess around with that. But what happened was, after spending some time recording on the computer at home, what I started to miss was the organic connection to music, to the instrument itself. Right. So what happens is, when you start playing and recording digitally, it allows you to edit. It allows you to make small tweaks. It allows you to correct mistakes. It's what makes modern music so polished. And it's a technical achievement, really. But it means that I'm spending more time clicking and watching the screen rather than playing the guitar. Because I start understanding more that technical aspect of that side, the audio engineering part too. And I thought, is this really what I want to be doing? So then what I usually do these days is, I have an acoustic guitar and I just play songs, whatever I want to, and try to arrange it in such a manner that I can sing it. And then I can sing it in a way that is convincing for me. This becomes a very selfish, maybe selfish approach to the music. But ultimately, I still see all of this as practice, as self-development. You were saying that I pick up multiple instruments, and the reason why I do it is, one, of course, it's my interest, it's fun. But two, there's the aspect of self-development, the joy and my general instinct to learn new things. And the more I learn these new instruments, the more I start understanding music in itself. And the voice singing is an interesting one. You start coming to because the reference point is the singers you listen to. And you think, I want to sing like Eric Clapton, or I want to sing like B.B. King, or I want to sing like Olivia Dean, like great singers, but they have their own voice, and this is the voice that they have come to based on their historical training and their practices and their realization of who they are. And that's what I also need to do too. And this has been an interesting one because then you take things like pop songs, like Harry Styles, for example. I really like Harry Styles, and but his range is a little higher than me. At least it gets to the point where in the way I play it, it doesn't convince me enough. I don't feel like I'm actually channeling the music enough. So then it comes down to trying to arrange it, fit it to my voice, and then learn how to sing it and present it in a way that I feel like, oh yeah, that sounds more like me. And it's the exploration of that. That is the experimentation that I think I've been doing the most recently.
Ray, you gotta send me some of your stuff sometime. I would love to hear
I haven't been recording. That's the downside. I should do some recording. Yeah.
Do you want to do the intro to the podcast?
I don't know. That sounds like a lot of commitment.
Whatever you want. If you ever come up with something good, something that you like, something that you want, dude, I'm more than happy.
I don't know. AI generated music. That's it's the now.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about a couple of covers. I'll tell you about the last one I heard. I didn't know this until just like yesterday, but Miley Cyrus did a cover of Jolene. And the original Jolene is so good. It's sometimes you hear a song and it's just right off the bat, you're like, this is perfect. Everything about this is just so perfectly done that you don't even want to touch a cover of it. So you hear the original Jolene from Dolly Parton, and you're like, this is one of those songs. This is the perfectly composed, perfectly sang, like the melody, everything to it is absolutely perfect, and it's very much a Dolly Parton song. And oh man, the backing band, I don't know who she got to be on the backing band for Jolene, but it is just so well put together. And I mean, like, that one sounds like it's a technical one to me too. Like, I think the finger picking is really fast on it. And so I heard like, okay, yeah, Miley Cyrus did a cover. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds cool. Like, the little bit of the music I know of hers, it's the stuff that becomes really popular, and it's more on the pop side. So I was like, I always enjoy like when pop artists go and do something like older. Lady Gaga, for example, did like a jazz album, a duet, and that's just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. But so I went to listen to Miley Cyrus's version, and it's a very toned down version, and she nails it. She kills it. She does absolutely phenomenal. And what's so funny is it's from what I know of Miley Cyrus's music is different from her typical sound.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's also quite subdued compared to Dolly Parton's, and it's really, really well done. It's really well done. It's just it's impressive to kind of see and hear that that range, especially for an artist to well, I mean, I think it's fair to say that there are a lot of artists out there who just they don't want to be typecasted in the type of music that they make, and I think that does help explain a lot of the exploration that you get, especially from artists where you kind of expect something of them and then they go in a different direction. And I think that happens with some of the most creative artists. By the way, Ray, I don't know if it's you or me, but I am getting a lot of like echo in my headphones. Yeah, right now it's just it's not echo, it's just like static. It's gone now.
Okay, then it's
and now it's back. It might be gain. It might be the gain on the mic. Maybe your cat twisted the gain. It's a lot better now.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay, good.
Cool. We're not cutting that. I'm not doing. I really don't want to do any cuts for the raw loads. I cut it for social media, but otherwise, this is all in it, man. This is raw.
Nice.
Raw berry. It's raw berry.
But you can still hear me. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you perfect.
Okay, good. Good. Yeah. So you were saying, Miley Cyrus, the different. Yeah, you were saying the creative, the more creative ones.
I don't know if more creative is fair. Like, I'm not a creative person, so I don't want to like pass those words without like being able to qualify it. Um, let's just say that there are a lot of, there is a I don't even know if it's a subset. You would know better than I do, but there's definitely some form of artist that's just like, listen, I'm not going to just do the same thing over and over again. And even though like we could talk about in terms of music, but even like actors, right? Like an actor does, some of them are happy to be typecasted and they're like, listen, I'm the action superhero every single time and I'm not going to do anything different. I'm the like rom-com female lead every single time. I'm not really going to expand outside of that because I do what I do so well.
Yeah.
To music, it's like we keep coming back to Clapton because he's just probably know his stuff more than any other artist, but also he's just so brilliant in everything he's done. But he went from being 21 years old to being a blues expert guitarist. Where there's that famous graffiti in London that says I think it's London where it says Clapton is God, which was sort of like him being this 21-year-old kid essentially already being at the top, and he spirals out of control for some time, right? I think like all throughout the 70s he's just like, I'm too good. He like in his head he's like, I'm too good for my own good, and he's bored of how good he is, right? And then this is he starts exploring all the stuff from like the Allman Brothers band and JJ Cale, and he's like, I got to get out of the stuff that I know because I'm too good at it. He would show up on stage like drugged out of his mind because he could play this stuff with his eyes closed behind his back, and it's so easy for him. It's so easy for him that he had to challenge himself. And throughout his career, like, okay, I was talking about how you cannot, there's some songs that where you listen to the original and you think there's no way I could cover this.
Yeah.
Layla is another great song. Layla with, I think Dwayne Allman was playing with him on it.
Playing on it too. Yeah. Derek and the Dominoes. Yeah.
Derek and the Dominoes. And you hear the original and you think, this is it. This is a perfect song. They even do like a key change right in the middle that they didn't need to. And like it was already as amazing as it is. Like you hear the key change and you think, did they just fuck it up? Why did they put in the key change? And then it's still amazing.
Piano outro.
Still amazing.
That's like half of the song.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he comes in, he covers it completely different. And one can argue, I won't make this argument, but one can argue that the acoustic version captures more of the pain than the original. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. But they're both equally amazing, and it's a cover of himself,
It's very interesting point because Layla, he has played two versions, and I've also seen a YouTube video of him playing with Dr. John. And it's another kind of a funky acoustic version. And obviously the band who's playing with him is different. The context and the time is also different. But it goes to show the breadth of musicality that he has. The Layla, the Derek and the Dominoes is a fire-burning, blazing rock tune with soaring, like almost brittle slide guitar being played by Dwayne Allman in the background. Clapton is just yelling, right? He is just bellowing it out throughout the whole thing. Yeah. And then you have Layla, the acoustic version. Very subdued, very tasteful. And the span between those two is 20 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the difference in, I think it shows of course, the breadth of musicality that he has, at least in 1992 when the acoustic one came out. But also perhaps the change in the perspective that he's gotten over this time. About life, about what the song means to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were talking about maybe the creative ones, and the first one that came to my mind was actually John Mayer.
Yeah.
Right? He comes out of nowhere with the Trio album.
The Trio, another three, just three guys.
Just three guys, and it is a fantastic album, full blues and blues rock, but before that, it's pop, Room Full of Squares, right? Acoustic pop.
I forgot the order. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Room Full of Squares was the first one. and which fantastic album in itself too. It is, I think one of it is that creativity is maybe so, but this is the showcasing of his influences. You were talking about the shoulders of giants. This is the respect he wants to show to the giants, and also show that I like this kind of music.
Yeah.
And people like, yeah, I like it too.
Yeah.
Right. But there's another part when it comes to professional musicians, these especially successful ones, about the choices they make. And that is ultimately for business. They have to be able to sell their music. And a career as a professional musician is a tough one. Especially if you are a period piece, your music is already considered dated after 10 years.
Yeah,
you'll be struggling financially. You don't have a long-term career. So then you have to make a choice. You have to make a choice to either continue doing what sticks, like AC/DC, for example, or you see if other things can stick and you can expand, or you may have just enough support from record labels, fans, you name it, and say, you know what, I just don't give a fuck. I want to do this. I think these are the choices they make.
All are fair. You know, one thing that's pretty cool about John Mayer, and I think this for some people, it's like that early success is just freedom. And John Mayer had that early success with pop. I think he genuinely enjoyed doing his pop music. I think he did come around and do a little bit more pop later on afterwards. Continuum, I think Continuum was after. Yeah. But I really liked the stuff he did. I think this was in 2010s. He was doing like some sort of folk country thing. It wasn't quite folk. It wasn't quite country. And it's slipping in my mind the name of his albums. In fact, I'm going to look up his stuff. Because there was a few that really Born and raised.
Yeah.
Born and raised, and then right after that, he did Paradise Valley, and they were both. I mean, I used to call it country because I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And it's not quite country. It clearly has country influence. It has folk influence.
It has folk influence. Yeah.
But it's not like heavy branded rock like his other stuff was before, and it's not pop. I mean, he's got some pop in there. But it's a good mix of stuff. And like I'm actually just looking up his stuff right now. It looks like his last album, his studio album, was Sob Rock. I don't think I've actually heard it in 2021.
What? You haven't listened to Sob Rock?
No.
Oh man, Sob Rock is great stuff.
Yeah? All right. I'll give it a listen.
He starts going to 80s music.
Ooh, that'll be fun. Yeah. And I know he's been doing like Grateful Dead stuff since, right?
Yeah, he's been playing with the Dead.
Joined. Yeah, that's all. I love how that kind of happens. I think he was just like invited to do a guest show or something, and he just played with them a little bit. And I guess just hanging out with them, he's like, "Guys, let's just do this," And then he joined him on tour. That's awesome.
Yeah, he is. Cool. I remember reading a comment on Reddit or somewhere that this guy is basically living the dream of every guitarist. That you get a good, you have a massive hit in the pop spectrum, you get wooed by the ladies.
Yeah.
And then you say, fuck it, I want to play guitar and play blues.
Yeah.
And then eventually you start going to folk, you play whatever you wanna, and then you join the Dead, the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
That's the end game, be a part of the Dead.
That's something that not many people have been able to do.
No, dude. Do you remember meeting the Deadhead in San Francisco many years ago? We did like
hostel.
Yeah, that's right. We did that. I think it was for Thanksgiving. We went up to Lee's place, and then we spent one night in the city. And yeah, we were rooming with the Deadhead, who was like, I've been following these guys for like 40 years, and it's just, I was like, that's awesome. Like that guy is.
Remember he was talking about SRV?
What did he say about SRV?
I remember he said that he remembers the day when Stevie Ray Vaughan died. He was hanging out on his living room couch,
Yeah.
And then his friend came by with a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah.
And I said, "Isn't it too early to be drinking?" He said, "I got bad news. SRV died." And it's like, okay, well, that's a reason to drink.
That's one of those John McClane moments, right? The day the music died.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you this, but I moved to Austin, and the first thing I did when I got here was I paid my respects to the SRV statue.
Did you go see the statue? Nice. Yeah.
Down there's this like little when you come down, I hope you come down. Or I'll come visit you, one or the other.
Yeah,
but yeah, there's a river down here, the Colorado River, and a portion of it that's cut out for a park. Not cut out, but there's a park right next to it, and they've got an SRV bronze statue there.
Nice.
It's a cool one. Speaking of which, can I mention the country you're in? Because I want to show you something.
Yes, I am in the Netherlands.
You are in the Netherlands. I won't say any more than that, but I hope this works. I'm gonna try sharing my screen. Do you remember when I sent you that website that showed like old historical maps throughout time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's play with that. I hope I can get that to work without doxing anything of myself. Okay. Oh, I could do a tab. Yeah, I got it. All right. How cool is this website? Can you see the screen?
Yep.
All right. I don't know how well this will work for a podcast, but anyway, here we are. We got a map. I'm starting with 100 BC, right? Because I was trying to, like, I love history, dude. I think since we were in college, I really did not care for history. It was like my least interesting. Like I just outside of my own personal history, I cared very little for any broader history. But I think it's when I really started traveling, when I was nomading, that I just I could not stop thinking about history since. And I was just wondering, like, hey man, what? Every place I've seen, every place I go, I it's like, how did all this stuff come together? There's a book that I'm like halfway through, which is super interesting. It's called Empires of the World. But it's a history of languages, and it talks about like how certain languages spread, what the characteristics were, and why some languages didn't spread. Like, for example, Greek was this massive language, even like at the beginning of the Roman Empire. But before that, everybody spoke Greek. I think it was that, and I forgot the name of the language that the Phoenicians spoke, but these were like two very popular languages all around the Mesopotamia, especially because like trade routes were connected and stuff like that. But they're kind of like, I think the Phoenician language is completely, it's dead colloquially, and Greek is now confined to like 80 million native speakers. And outside of that, not many people speak it, which is really interesting to me. But anyway, man, all right. So the Netherlands,
modern day Kingdom of the Netherlands.
Y'all still have a king?
There's still a king.
All right.
Wilhelm Alexander.
All right. Yeah, and there's a president as well, right? Or a prime minister?
There is a prime minister.
Okay. Ray, I get nervous when I do these things, and I really got to pee right now. Are you cool with
take a little bio break? Yeah.
5-minute break? All right, cool.
Yeah, I can go get some water.
Cool. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stop the recording. Don't close the browser. And then when you're back, we'll hit record again, and I should get 2 tracks that I could put together.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Cool. We are back, Ray. Ray, I was thinking as I sat back down, the last time I saw you, I think it's been 3 years, but we were having what I think is probably one of the best beers I've ever had, which I'm going to try to say it correctly. Grosch.
Oh, Grosch. Yeah.
Grosch.
Grosch. Yeah.
Grosch. That stuff is, I think it's a Pilsner, a phenomenal
it is
Pilsner. But I believe this one is German. There's Kroch. So there's Grosch and Kroch. They're different.
Grosch. Are you talking about Kolsch?
Okay, I'm thinking Kolsch.
Yeah, Kolsch. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
So Grosch and Kolsch.
Yes.
Okay.
Grosch and Kolsch. Kolsch is
right.
yeah. That is Kolsch is from Oh God, I should know the city. Yeah, it is from a specific city, a specific region of Germany.
Is it called Kroch?
No, it is actually. Let me know where does Kolsch come from? Where does Kolsch beer come from? It's like Cologne or something like that. Yeah, Cologne.
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 Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Düsseldorf, Cologne. It's near the border, not
Yeah.
too far from the Dutch border, which makes sense. Well, I would say Kroch is definitely probably one of my favorites. I mean, I think I just like Pilsners. Yeah, honestly, I don't drink too much these days, but if I do, it's a Pilsner, and Kroch is amazing. I think I believe there's really good American ones as well, but you know, you got to go to like the right microbrewery bar
Yeah.
to get it.
Yeah.
You know, Ray, I had the I think it was right before I came to see you in the Netherlands. I was in Prague, and one of my favorite cities. I definitely want to go back. There we go, Czech Republic. And I had original Budweiser, not Budweiser, not Bud Light, Budweiser, and it's so different. It's so different. Yeah, it's not the Anheuser-Busch version. I think it's born from that, but it's a very different style. Have you had it? I think they call it the same thing.
No,
check it out. Look for it. Look for it.
Look for it.
Yeah. Budweiser. I'm pretty sure that's what they call it instead of Budweiser. And actually, there's another one from Czech. They did really good pilsners. They have I'm sure you had this Pilsner Urquell.
Pilsner Urquell. It is the original Pilsner, as they say.
The original. It's so good. How? I mean, they one-shotted it. That's a one-shot right there. They made Pilsner, and they're like,
yeah.
Everything else is an option.
Actually, on this map on the west part, isn't that Pilsen?
What is it called?
Is it Pilsen?
That sounds right.
Right there. Yeah, isn't that Pilsen?
Yeah. Pilsen. They don't
Pilsen.
have the vowel Pilsen.
That's where Pilsners come from.
Pilsen. Yeah. It's the same with Budweiser. I think the name of the city was called Budweis or something.
Oh, really?
Prague is up here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's south.
Yeah, I still haven't made it to Prague. It's one of the places I would love to go. I did manage to have Pilsner Urquell from a cask in Berlin.
Ooh.
And that is nice Pilsner.
Yeah.
That's good beer. Yeah. Vienna's nice. Vienna's a nice place.
You been?
Yeah. Been there with Kuri.
All right.
Really nice place, yeah. It's the classical music is historically Vienna is a very important place for classical music. So there's a lot of conservatories there. All
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely like to visit the Vienna Opera House. Back to the Bonamassa stuff from earlier.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, it looks, everything I've seen, it looks like a beautiful city.
Yeah, I think if you like history, classical music and its history is quite interesting. There's periods. Generally, the different periods of classical music are quite defined, and you can start. The more you listen to across the periods, you start hearing the development and the distinction between them, and that is cool. Because some of them eventually you can start hearing the influences that starts going to modern music. And how, for example, some of the classical music has influenced like 1960s and 70s progressive rock. Things like Deep Purple. You know, these guys listened to classical music also and implemented those kind of things into it, or metal music, symphonic metal music, all of that.
Do you remember Metalocalypse or Death Clock or whatever?
Yeah. Is that the animated? Yeah.
I gotta watch those series. Like I saw some clips of it recently, and it's hilarious. I think it's like a Swedish rock band or something.
Yeah,
like
something like that.
Heavy metal rock band.
Yeah.
but they make some references to classical music in that, and you're like, this is, you know, it's like demonic music, you know, it's like really in your face, just heavy shouting and screaming, and it's very loud. But they do reference influences from like classical music, which is super interesting.
It's interesting because I think the rock music is, you go back to the histories of it, and it's tied to blues and Appalachian folk, right? American music. There's a distinct black music in combination with some European origin folk, white folk, you can say. That sort of blend became the blues, and all of that became rock and roll, rockabilly and rock and roll. And then there's classical music, which is historically very European. And so that influence is, you can kind of think of it as two separate origins. And then it starts meeting somewhere around this hard rock, heavy metal area. And that's what I actually appreciate. That's one of the things I really appreciate about heavy metal music. There's a distinct harmonic element to that music that's very different from just blues, or even Led Zeppelin. They say Led Zeppelin Led Zeppelin is like the beginning of heavy metal. Yeah, okay, sure. They sound heavy, and they have some very interesting stuff like Kashmir. But the blues rock, like 90% of it is blues rock.
One of my favorites is probably When the Levee Breaks. Like, that's a super heavy one.
Yeah, that's heavy blues stuff.
Have you seen The Witcher, the TV show?
No, I have not. No, is it good?
I think you'd enjoy it. Well, the first, I want to say 2 or 3 seasons followed more closely to the book and the video games. And then I think in the 3rd or 4th season, they broke away from the source material. And I think they actually ended up replacing the main character, the actor. I forgot the guy's name, but
wasn't it Henry Cavill?
Henry Cavill, yeah. And he's like a fan of the game. And so when they went in a direction that was just too far deviant from the source material, he was like, guys, this is not true to source. So they broke ways, and I heard those remaining seasons, they just didn't do it. It's a frustrating thing whenever you have like amazing source material and people pull away from it. It's the most frustrating thing, because you're like, the reason people love the source material is because there's magic in there, you know.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
I guess, you know, if you're a director or a writer, you have this temptation to infuse your own creativity in there. But with their great works of art, it's like it's sometimes better to just like not change it. You know, a movie I would really like to see. Maybe they already made a movie. I don't know if they made a good one on it, but I just reviewed or I listened to the breakdown of the story of Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's a fascinating one. It's like a pre-ancient story that was passed on.
Babylonian.
Yeah, Babylonian.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's Babylonian. Yeah. And it's a really interesting story. You know, it's like this super powerful guy who I can't remember if he's a semi-god or not. I don't think he's a god, but or, you know, what they call gods at the time. And then the gods were not happy with him because I think he was too arrogant, so they sent down a semi-god. And this is hilarious. Him and that semi-god, I think he's like half horse, half man or something.
Yeah.
And they start fighting, and because, you know, they're like, who's the king, who's the true king of the kingdom or whatever. And they get into battle, and they battle for 7 days. It's just like an Iron Man fight, and they're like evenly matched. And at the end of the 7 days, nobody is hailed the victor. Nobody's victorious. Instead, they're just like, brother, you're really good at this. Let's be BFFs. And then they become BFFs. They become best friends. They're like, I can't beat you. You can't beat me. Let's be brothers. And then they are. And then they go on adventures and stuff. And there's more to it after that. But even that initial buildup is like, that's a hell of a story. It's such a good story, because I think it's also a very realistic story. Like I had this more when I was younger, where if somebody was better than me at something, my initial reaction would be envy. But at some point you're like, well, it's not really envy, it's like respect, and you're like, and this is like a really nice culmination of that, where you have two evenly matched beings that are just superior, but to each other they're on equal footing, and they're just like, yeah, you're my brother in this. There's no reason for us to fight. So
yeah, the the Epic of Gilgamesh is. I remember there was somewhere they said it is the original bromance.
That's hilarious. That's a good
and
way
then
to
eventually they go on an adventure and the friend dies or something, right? I think.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly how he dies, but it is a battle where one of them doesn't make it and the other one does.
Yeah. I should read at least some form of the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yeah, I need to read it. I saw like a YouTube clip on it. It's not that long either. I think it's only like 100 pages. It's just a question of when I'm going to get to it in my long list of books.
Have you read Beowulf?
No, that's also on my list. I think that was medieval. Was that written during the medieval times?
That is Old English.
Old English. Like we're talking like 1000 AD or later?
No, even much older, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Yes, it's much older.
Wow.
That is the story of Beowulf fighting beasts and all that stuff.
I love those stories.
Fighting like witches and fighting beasts.
How cool is that?
Yeah, how cool is that? Huh?
I tried to read Utopia in the original English. It's not even a long book. I struggled with it, and I figured I'll just come back to it another time, and I will eventually. But it is like, part of it is, it's not learning a different language, but it is modifying your understanding of English to fit with those times. So like Utopia, I forgot the name of the author, but I think that was written around 1600s. I want to say around Shakespearean time, and it's a challenge. But I think there's a big reward to spending the time and energy to figure that one out. And I imagine Beowulf is similar. I'm guessing that there are modern translations or modern English translations of Beowulf as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would bet.
Yeah. I read this in high school, actually.
Oh, yeah. I think I was supposed to, and I think I did the Cliff Notes on that.
Cliff Notes, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember when I was talking to Robert, and I think he listened to it. But we were talking about fiction, and so a couple of my favorite books from high school. One was 1984, but I think so much has been said about that recently, and I think that's a phenomenal book. Crazy that it came from like when it was written, but the one that really got me, the book that I read and I thought, oh, reading isn't so bad, it would have been the Odyssey. The Odyssey with Odysseus. Just what a story, man. I enjoyed every moment of that.
Yeah.
They have a couple of movies on it now. I haven't seen them yet. I think they both came out last year, and they're both about Odysseus. One of them was a smaller one. It has Ralph Fiennes. Oh. Yeah, that one. That was a small, relatively small budget. I think the name of the movie is called The Return. The other one, actually, I don't think this one has been completed yet.
Yeah. I recall reading that there's going to be a movie about the Odyssey.
Yeah, I think that's Christopher Nolan as well. Yeah. So that'll be interesting. I'll watch both of them. I'll reserve judgment until I've seen both of them, and I don't know what's going to come out of them. But the only thing that I fiercely hope is that they stick to the source material. I really hope they don't deviate from the source material. Like just stick with it. Do what's written. Don't add any modern interpretations. Stick with the story, and they could both be absolute phenomenons.
I don't know. I think it's, on the one end, I agree. The source material needs to be respected, and the best respect you can probably do is to not deviate from it. But on the other hand, if you don't put modern interpretations to some extent, what is the point of making them?
If you're asking me, I'll answer. But if it was rhetorical and you have some thoughts on it,
no, actually, I want to hear what you think.
Okay, in my opinion, it should be left up to the viewer, the audience. Like, let us decide for ourselves, you know. When it comes to something like this, like if it's an original work of art, that's a different story. But if you're going to recreate like the actual Odyssey and you're not just reusing the characters, say, you know, it's not an offshoot of Odysseus or Telemachus or Persephone, I think was her name, or like a Poseidon story or whatever. If you are if you are essentially taking the written words and now using modern technology to tell the story, not to retell, to retell the story.
To retell the story.
In my opinion, you're best to stick as closely as possible to the original and then give it up to the viewer to say, oh, this is what I thought about it. This is what I liked. And of course, I think the director, the writer, the producers, the actors, they can each do their own to employ what was originally written. So like, for example, I don't want to see Telemachus not being able to shoot a bow. Like I don't want to see Telemachus using a rifle instead of a bow, right? Or you know.
Okay, well the reason why I say this is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
That's it. Okay. Go with it. Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
It's a retelling. It's a retelling. I guess it's not it's a unique one because it is a retelling or inspired by the story.
Yeah.
But that is very much a modern take to it. I can't even tell if you can call it a modern take considering it takes place in a certain period. But it's an interesting one.
That's a fair point, and that is absolutely one of my favorite movies. And it's not just because like the Dan Tyminski music in there, like that. I forgot the name of the main song, but that is just an awesome like folk telling of
Man of Constant Sorrow.
Man of Constant Sorrow. But if they had like Odysseus in ancient Greek singing American Southern folk, for example, I would not like that. I would say this is too much of a mixture. Whereas, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? If you had never heard of the Odyssey, you could watch it and say this is a story into itself. There's nobody named Odysseus. There's like the Cyclops is not named the Cyclops. You know, he's and like the way they give him one eye is very clever. Where he like I think he's blinded or something. So I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I think that distinction just needs to be like, hey, listen, this is our own thing, heavily inspired by whatever, versus this is the Odyssey, and we are going to recreate the book and put it in front of your eyes.
You know, there's a part of me that's almost thinking that, for example, the Odyssey, right? I read the book. Great stuff. Great story. Classic tale, obviously. Why make it into a movie in the first place? You know, if you have so much budget to make a movie, why not create an original story? And it's because usually political, right? They can't get approval from the production companies because they say they want safer choices. So they want the source material to already be there. Ideally, something that is already popular to some extent, so they can have some guarantee that there's going to be some ticket sales or whatever it may be. And it's all business ultimately. A lot of it is money printing business, but it's a missed opportunity, I feel sometimes.
You know, I just saw a clip of an interview with one of the Monty Python guys, and he was talking about how they had a script for one of their movies. It might have been The Holy Grail, it might have been Life of Brian, but one of the original, I think, 3 guys had said, hey, you know, we wrote this, but no studio wanted to produce it, or we couldn't find anybody to put up the money for it, you know, and there was no funding. So we had this funny idea, and then he was sharing the script with some of his friends, and the script ended up in the hands of George Harrison. I'm pretty sure it's George Harrison.
Yes, George Harrison. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
George Harrison is reading this, and he could not stop laughing. It's just the words at this point. It's just the script and the words, and George Harrison found out that like nobody's funding it. It's not going to get made. And at this point, George Harrison is already very wealthy, and he personally puts up the money for the sole reason that he wanted to see the screen. He wanted to see those words on screen. It was a personal project for him to say like, this is amazing. This needs to get made. And he was at a point where whether or not he got a return, it did not matter. He was able to effectively donate to the project, and I hope he got his returns on it, but it's classic now.
Well, thanks to George Harrison, we have some of the finest movies ever created. No, I mean,
yeah.
To me, Life of Brian, Holy Grail, those are great movies.
They really are.
Hilarious. They really are. And they're unique, They're unique.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing like it.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing like it.
There are... I have this rule generally where I don't really watch new movies for the most part. I kind of wait a few years before I watch one, because I'm waiting for the test of time to prove whether or not there's something good about them, or if someone recommends it to me. Like, Ray, if you recommend a movie to me, I'm probably going to watch it. But like if I just see the trailers and I hear a lot of marketing and hype about it, I'm going to wait 5 years, and if people are still talking about it, then I'll go back and give it a view. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of what is created, it's hard to know if they're great until you watch them. And most things that are created are not great, right? And great is a high bar. I don't mean good. There's a lot of good stuff, a lot of good things coming out left and right, especially now with like all the barriers dropped for publishing and producing music or content or whatever. But for something to be great, it's gonna beat the test of time. Eventually. It might take 10 years, right? Like the cult classics that initially bomb and then 10 years later they blow up. Like I believe Pulp Fiction was one of them, where it initially didn't do, I don't think it did bad, but it didn't do that well in the box office, and then suddenly it blew up, and now Quentin Tarantino is a household name.
Well, recent movie wise, I watched Project Hail Mary.
Oh yeah. And Andy Weir, the Andy Weir book.
Yeah, it's based on book.
Yeah.
I don't recall the author. I haven't read the book. I watched the movie. Movie was pretty great. I liked it, at least. I hear some mixed, overall fairly positive. Some people say if they feel like it was more of a kid's movie. I don't necessarily think it was a kid's movie at all, actually. But what I liked about it was that it didn't go too hard science. But it's just enough there. The main character is a molecular biologist, which is already, to me, a big plus. But I appreciated the way it portrayed the anxiety that comes from space travel. Especially one, in this case, a molecular biologist, a scientist, is part of this. Because they send, a mixed crew for missions into space. And he's not an engineer. He's not a military pilot or anything. He doesn't have those kind of backgrounds. And he's left alone in a situation where he does not know where he is out in space. And the anxiety and this dread and fear of encountering the unknown, encountering a life from another planet for the first time. I feel like it portrays it very well. And I appreciate that.
Now that you like this, actually, this is a really good example. Like I've there's a lot of hype for it now. So this is one of those movies where I figured if people are still talking about it in 5 years, I'll watch. Yeah. But I know you well enough, and I know your taste well enough, where if you say it's a good movie, then yeah, this is on my list. I don't need to wait.
It was a fun movie, at least. Yeah.
There's a couple movies that it reminds me of. One is The Martian. It's a Matt Damon one. Possibly it was also by the same book or the author of the same book. I can't confirm, but it was similar. There was a biologist who's stuck on Mars, and he has to survive before he can get back. The whole thing with Mars and the US, Mars and Earth is that like it's only suitable to really jump on a spaceship every 2 years due to the orbits that are like, for them to align close enough where you can actually reach out to him. So whenever something happens where he cannot make it back to Earth in the first round, so he has to find a way to survive. And it pushes him as a biologist and a scientist. And the movie was just really good. But the more recent one I saw, especially with this whole Artemis 2 thing going on, was Apollo 13. And I think it was a very similar flight path. Like it's the sort of slingshot around the moon. And that was just, it's one of my favorite movies, man. It's one of my favorite movies. I think the thing that really set Apollo 13 apart, well, I remember as I was watching it, I was thinking like, man, this is too much drama. Come on. Like, really? This is going to go wrong. That's going to go wrong. This is going to go wrong again. And you're like, it's too much. And then I took a break and I started reading about Apollo 13, and my jaw dropped when I realized, oh, actually, a lot of the challenges that they showed in the movie, it was real. It was like one after the other. It's like these guys, every 20 minutes, they have a life-threatening challenge that they have to survive. And they have to remain calm. They have to keep their wits about them. They have to think about how they're going to solve the problem. And what I really loved was it wasn't just the 3 astronauts who like, they obviously bore the brunt of the challenge, but what was so cool was the support that they got back home from NASA, where people were like, teams of people working day and night to say like, look, we got to get these guys home one way or another. And they were like trying to solve that problem together. And it was just it was one of the most inspiring stories I've seen. The science was real on it too, which was awesome. And it's like it's a feel good story at the end. It's a real one. You can hang on to it, and it's completely tangible. But there was another one that popped into my head when you said we were talking about like kids movies. Well, it reminded me of WALL-E, and I think we actually saw WALL-E together at least once. You might have seen it more than once. At least once we watched it together, and that's an awesome movie. That is an awesome. I know it's a children's movie, sure, but it's so good. Like there's so many. First of all, it's just an awesome movie. It's fun. It's enjoyable. If you're not thinking about it, I can see how kids love it. But there's so much commentary in there that like it's like it really makes you think. I think often about UBI, universal basic income, and especially with like this advent of I think there are three technologies that are coming together that are changing the world as we speak. AI, everyone's talking about that. We don't have to get into it. But AI, I think we're coming around to having better energy sources that scale up in a way that we haven't seen before. Both, I think the 2 big ones are going to be solar and nuclear, and those are still coming online to the degree that we need, and robotics. And I think between the 3 of those, we are entering a new age of abundance where UBI may come on the table. I still have a lot of negative thoughts on that, but before getting into that, I can envision a WALL-E world where at least we are completely provided for. And, the effects of that are going to be super interesting. Like, I certainly don't want to become like a gelatinous human slob. But the ease with which that could happen psychologically is like, that could be the challenge. I don't know. And, WALL-E kind of highlights that.
Yeah. The WALL-E, did you realize that Earth is left as a just pile of trash? It says there's too much trash, and people are like, "Yeah, we can't live here," and they just leave. And I'm thinking, man, that is a very almost that's not gonna happen. You can think, but it can easily go that way. It can easily go that way too.
Yeah, but, I mean, here's if the easy option is to just desert Earth, would well, here's what I think would happen is there would be, I think it's going to be like a spectrum, there some people will take the easy way out, some people will take the hard way out. And I think a lot, in my opinion, humans are capable of both, a lot of good stuff and a lot of bad stuff. I think humans have all of that, but I do think there's a large enough of just amazing human beings with like clean souls who would say, "Hey, we got to save. We can't just desert the homeland of our ancestors and our evolution and what brought us here." I can see an altruistic means of time and energy and work to like to not end up in the Wall-E world. But I mean, within our lifetimes, we might see that actually happen.
Yeah, well, let's see, huh?
Yeah.
I agree. I think the humans, you were talking about the spectrum. Humans are capable of doing great things, positive things, if people are empowered and enabled to do it. And if you consider for example, many people may have negative sentiments about the political spectrum of a country that they live in. And how is that going to help them feel empowered to bring about positive change or support positive change that a country may need? Whether it be the state of the politics or environment or energy or you name it. Especially if they are in a difficult state where they can't focus the energy on doing good if they have to worry about how am I going to put dinner on the table tonight?
Yeah.
Right. How am I going to send my children to work, to school tomorrow if I'm working 2 jobs?
Yeah.
So on and so forth.
Yeah.
The realities of life, the unfortunate practical to-dos that people have to do is what prevents a lot of people from focusing their energy towards some of these things. And on your point, universal basic income, for example, is one solution that can help alleviate this, to open up a little bit of capacity for people to redirect the energy to other things, whether it be enriching the community that they live in, or enriching their lives in a positive way and their health, or do some to provide their support to causes that will promote benefit to the whole world. But we'll have to see, huh? I was watching a analysis on the current state of England, of UK, and there is local elections happening this month, actually. And the Starmer cabinet is at a 41% approval rate. It is very, very bad. There's a lot of British people who are really unhappy about the current situation of the government, but they're unhappy about the situation of UK itself. And if you look at the current financial situation of the UK as a country, you cannot plausibly imagine a possibility of a UBI or anything at all. And then you realize, okay, then what sort of country can even do that?
Yeah.
No.
This is super interesting. I have a lot of thoughts on this, and as long as we're recording, to be honest, I'm going to hold back some of my thoughts, but definitely, I mean, in the US, we complain a ton about our taxes and the cost of housing and the cost of food. And that's all, in my opinion, warranted. I mean, housing has gone through the roof. Like, if you compare the ratio of a yearly salary or a year's worth of wages to the cost of buying a house, it's that ratio has gone, like the cost of housing relative to your income is just shot through the roof over the last 40 years. It's in a way that previous generations I don't think really understand or appreciate. And that's just in the US. it's worse in Canada and it's worse in the UK. And it definitely deserves more thought into why this is. And there's many reasons I moved here to Austin. One of them is they have been one of the few cities in the U.S. that whose cost of rent and buying a house did not go crazy high. It went up for sure. It went up since COVID, like in the last 5 years, like a lot of housing went up, but it went up significantly less in proportion to the number of people who have moved into the city. And a big reason, one of the big policies, and I believe this is the case, is that they're very pro construction. So a lot of new housing has come online. Like the supply chain isn't so restricted. One of the issues in the U.S. with housing is that we're heavily zoned and regulated. So, like when you're in a European city, you could just go downstairs and walk over to a grocery store that's reasonably priced. In the US, first of all, if you even find a sidewalk that you can walk from your home to a grocery store, you're already lucky. And secondly, you're probably going to a convenience store that is also paying like a certain number of taxes and scale that they can't provide food at a low cost. So a convenience store in the US is notoriously expensive, whereas like in Europe and Japan, I remember was probably one of the cheaper places where if you go to a convenience store, you get good prices. You get convenient prices where you could say like, oh, I'm too tired to go grocery shopping. I'll just go walk to the convenience store, grab a quick meal, and then come back. And that's something we don't have in the US, but it is definitely. To be honest, I think it's most of the Western world that is facing this sort of issue where the income. It's so wild that technology has taken us so far, and they've made so many conveniences in the last 30 to 40 years, but the cost of housing hasn't come down at all. It's shot through the roof. The cost of a TV is like rock bottom. I remember when a flat screen TV was like $1,000, and there were people who would save up for that, and that they were so excited about it. And the one person, we were talking about back in the day, the person who has a record collection is well known as the person with a record collection. It was the same with the flat screen TV. They're like, oh, my uncle's got a flat screen TV. We're gonna watch the Super Bowl at his place. Everybody's gonna be there because nobody else had that. And now these things are a dime a dozen. But housing's not. Housing is still through the roof, and it's an absolute. It's a negative state of things. Like something is clearly very wrong where what should be a luxury is cheap, and what should be a given is expensive. And I'm going to withhold my commentary until I can quit my job because I could get canceled.
I agree. I live in the Netherlands that is going through a housing crisis. The country has been going through a housing crisis for the last 10 years potentially. At the very minimum, it is the number one topic on the last, I would say, 2 elections or so. It is very much one of the top 3 problems that society is facing. And there are many reasons to it. There are many opinions about it. But the fact of the matter is there was simply not enough houses being built. And the housing is commodified.
What do you mean by commodified?
So historically, let's take what was it? I think it was Vienna, for example. Or there's historically many cities and many countries in Europe had social housing as the majority of the housing that is provided. It was the government supported option for housing. So housing was accessible, and it was made so because housing is considered to be one of the fundamental rights, or generally speaking. It ought to be. And so accessibility was important, but then the market for housing, and also in the case of the Netherlands, the social housing sector and this construction was privatized. The idea was the free market will help it make it more competitive and the price will go down. I won't go any further about whether that works or not. But regardless, it's clear that the shift in the privatization of the construction of housing and the availability of at least social housing has led to this predicament where now the supply simply was limited. And it was limited, and then by the time it was needed, it was too late. Now we are facing situations where, whether it be COVID, or the Ukraine-Russian war, or Iran and US war, is disrupting political supply chains, putting a lot of anxiety into the stock markets or investments, and it's driving up the cost to build houses, in addition to availability of people to build them, at least to meet the demands that is necessary to meet what is considered to be enough for society right now. And this is, in some ways, it's just the perfect storm. It's just the combination of many different elements that has spiraled into a nice big tornado, which is the housing crisis. And it is the case for many countries, from the looks of it.
So I think we both agree that if you have a mismatch of people who want a home and the number of homes available, you're going to get a crisis. Like, that's supply and demand economics 101. I do have different thoughts on how to get there. But ultimately, like, whatever barriers there are needs to come down. And accessibility to actually putting those things up that are not squalid, tiny, like... well, honestly, I could see, like, in a place like New York where, there's a degree to how small of a place you could live in. Like, you visited me in New York. That was actually a larger place that I had. I moved to a smaller place later, like a little studio, which worked fine for me. But I think there are different ways to achieve it, but we both agree on what the outcome should be. I do have other questions on the Netherlands. So, I was looking at what the economy in the Netherlands is driven by, and by the way, I think you alluded to this, and I just want to clarify my position here when I talk about economy. To me, economy is the standards of living for the general populace. So when I'm talking economy here, I'm not really talking like what are the financial stocks. I'm not talking about what is like the ultra wealthy there. I mean, what is the median standard of living? Whether or not you want to compare that in the euro or in the USD, or what was the old Dutch currency? The guilder?
Guilders.
The guilders. Yeah. But I was curious, what is the driving economy in the Netherlands? Because I think it is also a sort of an information economy, and there are two things that I feel confident in saying. One is, I believe they're the home of TSMC, something like that, which is one of the chip manufacturers, which has very much blown up in the last few years, and honestly for the last few decades. And then the other thing, I think this is more up your realm, as you mentioned, in molecular biology. So I did a little bit of research of the words that you gave me, which at the time didn't make sense, but I think it was like high throughput molecular biology. And then you mentioned a few different use cases of it. But I guess, okay, so I'll tell you this. I think the pharmaceutical industry, or the biological industry, I think is heard of in the US. But to be frank, I don't know what like the common uses are. But I'm guessing part of it is like generating pharmaceuticals, and I don't know, maybe even like the new GLP-1 stuff is related to what's coming out of the Netherlands.
So the chip manufacturer, actually, I think you're referring to ASML.
Could have been that. Yeah, so maybe TSMC is Taiwan.
TSMC uses at least the machines from ASML. I believe ASML is big. They are one of the very, very popular or well-funded company in the Netherlands, in the south of the Netherlands, in Eindhoven. And they are creating machines that generates chips that is, well, top line standard. And that's the whole thing. Biotechnology, pharmaceuticals. The US is by far one of the biggest it's a big country, but the US is still one of the top places for biotech and pharmaceutical industry because there's still a lot of funding. Where the US is strong is ultimately the money that goes to funding corporations is unmatched. And which leads to many companies being present and many companies being able to hire many people and do some very groundbreaking research. You were talking about, so if we take pharmaceuticals, yes, generally speaking, they make medicines. They make medicines or they make solutions for therapeutics. In some cases, they may make medical devices. So it will be very much the intersection of engineering, medical sciences, biology, chemistry. Biotechnology can overlap, but it can be quite different too. So, for example, if you take a company like that makes synthetic leather, so we're talking vegan leather. They may call it vegan leather, but these are leather that is created from, for example, fungi, from mushroom. And this is offered as a biotechnology solution to sustainable and cruelty-free alternative to leather. So material sciences, biomaterials. In addition to that, for example, what I do is making enzymes or proteins. So these are things that you don't think about, you don't necessarily buy all the time, but you are using it very much in your daily life without knowing it. When you do laundry, when you are doing your dishwashing, you are probably using something that I have worked on. And it is the active enzymes that are in those detergents that's helping breaking down, for example, meat stains and making it cleaner. And those are produced from bacteria. And so that's where the biotechnology part comes into play.
Very cool. It's so interesting to think like all these little things that are improving that we don't think about. Like let's compare laundry detergent from 20 years ago to today. I remember like if you got ketchup on a shirt, that was it, you know? Like if you were a kid, you were lucky enough that your mom would take soap and maybe some bleach and try to like rub that thing, you know, like just clean it up with her hands and then throw it in a washing machine and hope it works. And now it's like it comes in a little plastic pouch that are already discretized for you. Just throw one in there and it comes out without any issue.
You can do your laundry using cold water.
Yeah, that too. That's right.
This it used to be not used to be the case. You can now we don't have to worry about color bleaching as much. This also was very much the concern for every household for a long time.
I didn't know that because the classic like sitcom gag is you throw a red shirt with your whites and then everything turns pink. And I still separate by whites. That
will still be the case. It's still it's best you do so. But now the formulations for laundry detergents have improved. That it's many of them can start limiting the color bleaching or color loss or staining of the other, like if you put reds with the whites, the whites will still probably stain. But the red dye coming off from the red clothing itself can be prevented a little bit more depending on what you use.
Very cool.
So these are all the chemistry that's going into it.
Yeah. You know, it does remind me. I remember some time ago, there was this approach, and it has some legs to it, but I don't think it's scaled properly. Where I think they call it biofuels, where you would use bacteria to convert, say, corn or starch or even sunlight into something like an ethanol at a scalable, low usage, low byproduct way, so that you get a cheap energy source. I think the problem is it's not cheap enough. Plus, it doesn't scale very well, and but there was that whole sort of infusion of bio that was trying to solve you could call it engineering problems, but it's really just all science and technology problems.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you also mentioned mushrooms. I've been hearing last 5-10 years about mushroom science. It sounds like fungi was dismissed early on as a nuisance rather than anything useful, or at least it wasn't in popular. It wasn't getting the same kind of funding and growth and research as it is now. So it sounds like there's a lot more there. Is it easy to engineer a mushroom to produce what you want to produce?
I won't say it's easy. No. It is probably the more complicated ones to work on compared to bacteria.
Why is that?
And it is because they have much more complex genetic material. They are complicated cells. They are eukaryotic. There are many different components to it. Whereas bacteria, for example, is single cell prokaryotic. It's simpler. It's simple organism. And simpler the organism it is, the easier it is to manipulate. Or at least change the genetic code and directly see the impact of it. So you have more control over it. But for example, you may have fungi that are able to take in DNA of a variety of kinds because that's how they survive. That's their core ability that allows them to survive in different environments, but also means that targeted changes become even more difficult.
What do you mean by I don't know if I got that right. Like they have variable DNA, or they have various DNA sources?
Yeah.
Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah. So let's, if we talk about antibiotic resistance, antibiotic resistant bacteria, you hear that sometimes. And this is used as an argument against overuse of antibiotics. And the reason is antibiotic is designed to kill bacteria, for example, or fungi or yeast, depending on the antibiotic. But they can gain resistance. And they gain resistance by several different ways. One is that they start mutating. So they start introducing changes within the genetic code, the DNA, and those that are better suited to survive or resist the antibiotic in this case start growing more. And so you start biasing towards this. Another is that some of them have the ability to share DNA or intake DNA from external sources and incorporate into them. So actually, this is how viruses work. So how viruses affect cells is that viruses actually are not alive in the technical sense, depending on who you ask, but viruses contain a piece of cDNA, genetic material. Viruses get to a cell, injects the genetic material, and the genetic material gets incorporated into the cell's core DNA. And that's how they can create more viruses.
They're essentially hijacking the brain and the resources inside of a cell to recreate replicas of the virus instead of other cells.
Yeah. So that's one way that DNA can get incorporated into it. If you think about it, so if we take an analogy to say, okay, it's like a human ingesting something, right? So then why can't cells just simply vomit it out? It's because some of the cells actively take in genetic material because it is their survival mechanism. And so
wait, the survival mechanism of the cell is to incorporate other genetic material?
Because what happens is cells, for example, bacteria, they can grow really rapidly. So if one gains a new genetic trait and it's suited to grow in a certain environment, for example, it's now resistant to antibiotic. And cell B, its neighbor, they used to be from the same ancestor, does not have this trait, then cell A will continue to grow and cell B will die off.
Yeah.
But this is how the progeny of the cells can survive. And so it is their survival mechanism that encourages them to incorporate DNA.
Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong here. It's been a long time since I've taken biology, but I was under the impression that those modifications mostly happen through accidental genetic mutations that end up being beneficial. And so this was like sort of an evolutionary cause, which is stochastic. But if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying it's a little bit more than that. You're saying that there's actually like cells that will look like they seek out new genetic material to see if that works for them or not.
Seek out is, they don't necessarily actively, you can say seek out. Then they're taking it in.
Passively accept.
They just accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If they're in the state to accept it, they just accept it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But you're right. The evolution happens through the mutations of within the genes and the propagation of that mutated population.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what's historically been used to do biotechnology. Until what happened was we came up with technologies that allow us to directly interact with the genetic code of living organisms.
And what does that look like? So, my layman understanding was it's kind of like you take a syringe, you poke a little hole into a cell, and you inject the DNA that you want. Or the more sophisticated version would be you hijack the delivery mechanism of a virus, you put in the genetic material that you want, and then you let that vector deliver it to your cells.
Exactly.
But those are both, I guess, indirect. I don't know.
No, they are different techniques to introduce DNA, what's called exogenous. So outside DNA into a cell. Injection, that is the injection that can happen. You've seen videos of mammalian human embryonic cells getting injected with something.
Yeah.
That can happen, but that depends on the size of the cell.
Yeah.
Because, well, that's difficult. In some cases, for example, some fungi, you can shotgun DNA into it.
I really hope you're talking about a literal shotgun that you coat.
It doesn't quite look like a shotgun, but it is a machine where you just place it on this, there's a little cartridge, and it just shoots it in. Some of them take it, some of them don't. So that's an option too. You force it in there. In other cases, cells, when they are growing, they have different phases of the growth. And depending on the phase of the growth, they are more open to taking in DNA. So with that understanding, you can try to provide the condition that is most optimal for cells to take in DNA. So that's another technique. That's a more natural one, I guess you could say.
Okay. So you leave like a little bait. You leave bait, and then the cell consumes it by its own will.
Yeah. And then you basically force the ones that didn't take in to die off. Yeah.
Sneaky. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is for bacteria, prokaryotic, single-celled organisms.
Yes.
Okay. So if we scale this out, and maybe it's completely different to a multi-organism bacteria or to fungi.
Yep.
How is it different? And it does sound like it could be promising in both cases.
So fungi ultimately they all start forming colonies. Many of these small organisms. And actually, if you consider even complicated higher order organisms like mammals, we all originate from one cell. It is just that the cells then split, they divide, and each one is then programmed, as they say, to become something else. Like one becomes a kidney and another becomes a brain, for example, a brain cell. And that's all just written in the code. But if you consider how we all started with just one cell. And this is the same case for fungi too. They are simply one cell. They start forming colonies, and then they may start forming structures that make it look like a mushroom. Or in some cases, it looks like a mold that's on bread. Or in some cases, it may just look like a slurry that's sitting at the bottom of certain kind of beer. Or the SCOBY in kombucha, a symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. So all of those, that looks like, it just looks like a chunk. But those are just basically one, usually, cell or a group of the similar kinds of cells. They just grown and they form the aggregates.
Is it fair to say it's a single organ? Kind of like, okay, we've got skin, we've got kidney, liver, heart. They're all different cells.
Yeah,
same genetic code, but different cells.
Yeah, not exactly, because when you start taking organs, then those are cells that have come together to form a certain function. Whereas if you take bacteria and they can form a multiple million cell colony, they do not, as a single colony, operate. Each of those cells are still doing, for the most part, their own thing, and they may have some interaction with each other, but they don't say together as a colony. They may, do what a kidney does.
What is the mechanical structure that keeps them together? Is it like cells that like attach on to each other with like little arms sticking out of their cells, or
in some cases,
put themselves in like a fluid, like a medium?
It depends. Some of them form chains. Some of them form some can form biofuel, that within this biofilm they kind of float about.
Okay.
But even usually those guys form some chains and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Some may form kind of like a matrix structure, almost like plants, like plant cells. Those are their plant cell walls are connected.
Yeah.
And so they form a matrix and they form leaves, for example.
And what about fungi? Similar?
Fungi can, yes, fungi. They can form fibrous structures and result in something like mushrooms, which can then be used to become material.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they give you superpowers and you could start shooting fireballs after you consume enough of those mushrooms.
Enough of those mushrooms, and you'll dream of all the variety of things you can think of.
Yeah. If you can't throw literal fireballs, your brain thinks it can.
Yeah.
One or the other.
Which is funny, right? That some of those cells are producing those compounds that allows people to hallucinate, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it can be used then to make biomaterial. It can be used to make. There are some, for example, there's a professor in Berlin, I think, who is making art structure out of fungi.
Art structures, okay.
Art structures, straight up structures. They can make like tents or like these canopies out of it, out of fungi, and it's because they can form pretty solid structures from their own cells, and the combinations of all the individual cells forming chains and colonies.
That's cool stuff. You mentioned like artificial leather made from fungi, which the plastic version was pleather. I would like to name the fungal version Fleather.
Fleather. Fleather, there you go.
You can make Fleather.
See, you can start your own biotech company and call it Fleather.
Fleather jackets, Fleather seat coverings. Yeah. Dude, I maybe I'm naive, but I'm very much a techno optimist. I feel like it's crazy to think that science and technology and engineering there's been a century of accomplishments over the 1900s, and we're just continuing into that in this century. And I don't think it's going to slow down, but I also don't think I don't think any single person knows where all this stuff is going. Like a lot of the
No, I
bio
don't think
research
so.
for me, it's my world is in tech. I'm up to date on software and AI. I keep a finger on what's going on in robotics, but like biology, chemistry, pharmaceuticals, it's still I only know about the breakthroughs like GLP-1. I'll be honest, I'm still a little bit suspicious of GLP-1. I want to see the longitudinal studies on that, but it does sound like there's a lot of value in that. And it sounds like even the use cases are extending. I mean, initially that was supposed to be supposed to help people with diabetes. That was the main use of it. And then I think the off-label use was like, oh, it also helps you decrease your diet. And then it started coming in for weight loss. And I've been hearing studies now where it's a general willpower tool. So it can help with like, it can help people stop smoking and stuff like that. I mean, I for one, I have suspicion or not suspicions, but I have hesitancy on the long-term solutions. But I also think that, I still like to be human and to say, there are my human limitations and let me overcome challenges as without any aid. Maybe that's a personal philosophy that may change, but it is kind of remarkable how this stuff in bio and chemistry is just there's a lot of secrets that I think are going to be unlocked in the next decades or so. And I
Yeah.
think, as you said, Ray, man, a lot of them have already happened. Just the general population, myself included, is just ignorant of all the all the magnificent things that have come through.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's impossible to know everything that's happening. And it's not practical either.
Yeah.
Yeah. They call it practical ignorance, right? Selectively you should understand certain things, and selectively you just come to the conclusion that you don't need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was when the camera was not recording, I was telling you, there's multiple reasons I started this podcast. One of them is, I certainly want to get to the point where I could reach out to people I've never met before, and they would happily have a conversation with me because I just love learning about all this stuff. Like, I'm so curious about everything big and small that I have no idea about. And the world, like, humans are too fascinating. We have accomplished and done so many things that and there's still so many more things that are happening. It's impossible to have real depth in everything, but it's always fun to talk to someone who knows this stuff and just to like expand our knowledge on these things.
Yeah. It's one of the joys of life, right?
Yeah.
To talk to people and hear about an entire different world that you never even knew existed.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit scary almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's certainly overwhelming. I get this whenever I lately I've been getting this more with history. Like as I study history, I'm just like, man, we in this time, these 8 billion humans alive today are just a speck in the arch of history. 100 years from now, what are people going to think about? What will they think about us? Probably the same way we think about the generation out of World War II, World War I. It's hard to believe it. It's like, it's really hard to empathize with anyone who went through World War I, then the Great Depression. But man, did they struggle, and like to empathize with that. And it's the same with us. 100 years from now, people will look back and say like, oh yeah, there was a COVID, there was the whole like internet age, social media, all these like big changes. Rocket technology is like taking off again, like it's having a revival. There's so many things. One of the things that I mentioned earlier was war is now like, war is not the norm. When there's a war, it's a pretty big deal. Whereas in the 1800s, just borders changing and warring nations was a lot more like part of the status quo. It was more of an expectation. And now it's like, well, we can imagine a world where there is no more war. We live in a relatively static world, at least in in the West. When was the last time a border shifted significantly since World War II? And it's just not happened. So yeah, I feel like studying history kind of reminds me of how little of a speck we are, and how I am as an individual. And I think it's similar when you I know a lot of people get this when they think about space or spirituality and stuff. There's just this sort of realization of how small we are, but that's kind of awesome, to be honest.
Yeah, the smallness of the individual is if you think about the scale of things, it puts it into perspective, your own entire existence. But what I also find especially remarkable is how individually we are different. Individually, we are living a life that is not possible to be exactly lived the same way. It's not. Even with people who have twins, right? They go to different lives. Each one of them are living a different life, even if they grew up together, even if they were twins, even if they went to the same school, and etc., etc. Each one has a different life they're living, and there's no way for that to be experienced by another person. Which is pretty remarkable to me. I think it's one of the things that makes each of us, the individual, special in that regard. And each one of us has inherently a perspective that is unique, that is different from others. Even though we can rationalize that you can take a group of people and make a generalized statement of what they all think or what they, believe in. And for the most part, that may be the case. It's a matter of statistics at that point. But still does not change the fact that each of the individual have lived different lives.
Something that I've always appreciated about you, Ray, is that it's impossible to label you because you have your foot in so many different cultures and perspectives that there's no way I could say oh yeah, you're part of the gaming community, or oh yeah, you're part of the music community, or oh yeah, you're just another typical biology dude. It's you've not really ever fallen into any of that. And it is kind of interesting because I think pre-internet there was much more of a monoculture, or there was a small number, let's say at least within America there was a small number of cultures, which is to say there was a handful of celebrities everybody knew, there was a handful of movies everybody watched, everybody kind of knew everything. Back in the day, I forgot what it's called, but there was a series of TV shows on Friday night. I think they called it TGIF, and it was 8 to 10 on CBS or something like that. And everybody was watching the same television show. Everybody listened to the same music, and not that it wasn't phenomenal, right? But everybody in the 80s knew who Michael Jackson was, more so than probably today, people who know who Michael Jackson is. And he's still a massive star, posthumous. But we certainly live now in a world of an infinite number of microcultures where you can really find your niche and a community of people in your niche with the internet. Just one is in terms of the amount of content in there. I don't even know what mainstream content is. To be honest, I didn't know what mainstream content is for 20 years. I got no idea. But that definition has changed quite a bit as well. So
I don't know, actually. I'm not fully certain that the amount of the diversity of culture has increased. I think we are in a state where the microcultures are able to expand more thanks to technology. But I think the microcultures already existed for a long time. We just didn't hear about it simply because we didn't have the technical capabilities to know it. I have a friend who has a son who is going to school. He is 15. And according to my friend, the kids have no individuality anymore because they are all looking at the same social media that is pushed by the same algorithm. And so they all have the same haircut. They have the same clothes. They wear the same shoes. And they talk the same way, talk about the same things. So what happened to the goths, the punks, the emos, all the different microcultures that existed in high school when I went to high school? Is what my friend said. And that's interesting. Yep. I don't know what it looks like right now in high school. But you're right. In theory, there should be many microcultures that people are able to access the information for.
That is interesting. I wonder if it's just an age thing, and like I wonder if, you know, as kids wanting, like, if there's a desire to like this desire to fit in just overwhelms the desire to be an individual and think for yourself. So I wonder if they are victims of their time, or if, you know, like you and I, who have gone through college and have worked, who have been in the world for some time, like kind of decided, we're just gonna go our own way. But to be fair, I think we got lucky way back as undergrads to get like room together and have Lee as well, because I think all of us kind of were from the beginning a little bit more individualistic, which is to say, like, if we find something's interesting, we just kind of go for it, and like we don't. I don't think any of us are in tune with mainstream whatever like culture. And I don't think any of us have been. To be fair,
not really. No, I can't say we are. I have met people who are much more tuned with what is popular, what is viral, what is trend, and I can definitely say we are not that.
What's funny is I don't even know how to find out. Like I don't know how to find what is like the mainstream media. Every now and then I hear references to, like, when I hear the same reference multiple times, I'm thinking, oh, okay, I guess that's popular. Like I heard, like, I think in the last week I heard 3 people reference a TV show called The Pit. I don't know what that is, but it seems to be popular, and that very well might be what mainstream consumption is. Are you familiar with The Pit?
No, I have never heard of The Pit. No, what is this?
It's a TV show. Okay, yeah, it's a TV show that has to do with I think an ER room. So I think it's like the current version of those doctor shows like ER or Grey's Anatomy. I do remember watching a few episodes of Grey's Anatomy. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but I started pre-med. I was bioengineering pre-med.
Yes,
and I was initially thinking I'm going to become a doctor. And then I spent some time with pre-med students, and I thought, nah, fuck this.
To be fair, you're in the majority. Right?
There you go. Hey, I'm mainstream, man. I'm mainstream.
You're mainstream. It was mainstream to not stay in pre-med.
Yeah.
It was mainstream to not stay in bioengineering at all.
Oh, that's true. A lot of us left. You were definitely in a minority to stick through it. Actually, I now remember. I think we sat together in, I think they called it Bioengineering 1 or something, and it was a massive lecture hall. I think it was like 400 or 500 students freshman year.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. I did make it through that course, but then I think you and I went on different paths. Like I was doing pre-med bioengineering, you were doing real bioengineering, and then even within the pre-med route, I think after my second year, I went to mechanical.
Yeah. It was the majority of them did not graduate with a bioengineering degree.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I think, like, when I remember watching Grey's Anatomy with other bioengineering pre-med students, and I think that TV show, like, partly turned me off because it was this drama, you know, it was not actual medicine.
Yeah, that's drama, right?
Yeah. And it seemed like a lot of pre-med students like that, and I was like, man, this is just like fucking save the guy. Who gives a shit who's sleeping with who? Like, I had very little interest in that. It's just a soap opera. But
they never have TV shows about lab biologists, lab scientists.
Y'all got to get one. I think the closest you'll get is forensic, like the forensic stuff
forensic.
these days. Like
I guess
is it called?
Yeah. I mean, they have an entire show, Silicon Valley, about programmers.
That's right? Yeah, that's a good one too. Right?
Ain't none about lab scientists. Why not?
Man,
why not?
Yeah, I'm trying to like. They did somehow make Silicon Valley I thought was a really good one because I never lived up there, but from what I understand there was a lot of kernels of truth of it, and to be funny, it's like even now I see clips from Silicon Valley and it's like, oh yeah, that's the tech world. This thing is 10 years old, but it's still culturally relevant and just sometimes it's too on the nose. It's so on the nose. You're like, what are we fucking doing here? But why can't they make an interesting molecular biology one?
I think it's because it is too niche. I think Silicon Valley even, that was probably a gamble.
Yeah.
Right. But culturally, it was known enough. Right? It was not about tech and programmer. That's what it was. But that's not what it was actually about. It was about Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
It was about the culture of it.
That's true.
So if there is no cultural identity or something that can be associated by the general masses with lab science, then there's no connection there.
I can imagine. First of all, I think the director, Mike Judd, he did The Office some years prior, and I remember there was a similar story where people were like, nobody's gonna who's gonna watch a movie about an office? Like, this is so boring, corporate office work. And that movie, I think that was one of those cult successes as well, where it didn't initially do well, but then it blew up, and everyone's like, this is genius. And then of course The Office came out, the TV show came out afterwards, and that just took the world by storm. But with I wonder if the connection here for any like television directors is pharmaceuticals. Like, I think pharmaceuticals, like the putting that into our brains, especially since COVID came out, like, there's the mRNA vaccine everybody was talking about, like the phrase mRNA was coming out of people who had not studied biology, and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool, and it that could be the link where here's what I'm thinking about it. There's one movie I could think about that had to do, but it's usually like biowarfare. I forgot what it was called. It was the one with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage. Not the Alamo, but Alcatraz.
The Rock.
The Rock. Yeah, that was a bio one.
The Rock, man, that was a great movie.
That was great. I think I've seen that 2 or 3 times, and I think we saw that together in college too once. Maybe not. But
actually, no, because the first time I watched it was with Jimmy.
Oh, so you're already in SF, or?
You're already I was in Sam too. I was like, how had I not watched this movie?
Yeah, I could have. I saw it. I'm pretty sure I saw it the first time outside of college, but then I thought I saw it again with you in college. Maybe not. But yeah, man, I'm glad you remember that one.
Yeah.
I want to ask how Jimmy's doing, but I'll save that for off camera.
Actually, I need to check in with myself, so I actually don't know.
All right.
But it goes back to like there's so many people to actually catch up with, right?
Yeah.
Eric Gaslam sent me a LinkedIn message the other day.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's been in Irvine for 15 years. And I'm thinking, man, I grew up there.
Did you guys go to the same school? Did you guys?
No,
did you
no. He did not grow up in Irvine. He grew up in Chino Hills. There's two locations.
Okay,
yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah,
but it's so many people,
Eric G. Yeah, I think I really think that, like, personally, I know I'm blessed. I've just met so many awesome people. Yeah, I hope to catch back up with quite a few of them. But Eric G, dude, that guy was so much fun.
Yeah, it was great.
Great guy.
Those were great times, college. if anything, for the camaraderie that I had with you and Lee and Eric and all the other folks that I met.
Yeah.
That was definitely a life-changing moment, I can say.
I'd agree with there. Whenever I'm paying back my student loans, which is still to this day, I remind myself.
Oh no!
I was paying out-of-state tuition. It was worth it. It was worth it for a number of reasons, but definitely, it's like if I had to do it all again, it would, in a heartbeat. But I'm in a very fortunate spot where it's like, I can pay them back. Fortunately, it's not something I need to. It's not causing me problems like I know it is for a lot of people, but. Yeah, dude, those were some splendid times. It's funny because they used to call. I remember UCSD had the reputation where people would call it the University of California socially dead, and I always thought that was interesting because I thought I met awesome people there, and I loved our campus, and I loved what was going on there. I don't know. I think ultimately it depends what you make out of it.
Yeah,
and it worked out well for us.
The weather was nice. It was a safe area.
Yeah.
Like if you consider the UCLA or USC, great places, great campuses, but you go outside of the campus and you go a couple of blocks and it's like,
yeah,
I don't know.
What's funny? The only reason I applied there, I was out of state, right? And so UCSC doesn't really get too much out of state applicants. And the only reason I applied actually was I wanted to go to Berkeley. And to apply to UCSD, it's actually the same application. You literally have to check a box. So I was like, oh, I'm applying to Berkeley. I put in all this effort of like writing this essay and copying and pasting like my stuff into the form. Let me just check UCSD. So it was a fortunate happenstance the way things worked out. Yeah.
No why did you apply for pre-med?
I wanted to be a medical doctor. I thought I was going to go the medical doctor route.
Yeah.
I didn't think too much of it. It was it probably still is the case where being a medical doctor has a certain amount of like prestige behind it.
Yeah, indeed.
And that was probably that was it. That was more than anything else. And like I didn't, I wasn't chasing my own prestige. It was just kind of like you hear from family and cousins and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, everyone, that she's a doctor, your aunt is a doctor, and then your parents are like, you should be a medical doctor. And if you don't really know what you're looking for, why not follow the advice of the friends and family around you? I don't think that's bad advice. But when I was doing bioengineering, I was also taking some engineering classes, and I actually really liked physics. I don't know if you remember Physics 2A.
Yeah, Physics
2A. I love Physics 2A. I really like Physics 2A. I like the math. I like the physics. In biology, I actually did like the chemistry. I didn't like the memorization, but I did like the chemistry. And so as I was taking those classes, I was deciding, I think, between 3 or maybe 4 majors to switch into. One of them that was physics, because I really enjoyed physics, but I think like I had already done 2 years as bioengineering pre-med, and to switch into physics would have been like it would have been really hard, and I would have to retake some of the basics as well. I was thinking computer science, but that was a similar one where I would have to start from scratch, and it would take too long. So the two I was really thinking about was electrical engineering and mechanical engineering. And I can't. Oh yeah. So for those two, I remember I was talking to the department admins, and the department admin for electrical engineering, I don't think she ever responded to me. But then the one for mechanical engineering, she was this, I forgot her name, but she was this wonderful lady. And she was like, yeah, if you want to switch in, we're more than happy to do that. Here, come to me for help whenever you want. This is like what you can expect from your classes. These are the good professors. These ones people kind of struggle with. She was just so warm and welcoming. She was so kind-hearted. Like I probably switched solely because of the admin, to be honest. And I'm very happy with the decision. I really like mechanical engineering. Like actually before this call, I was looking at YouTube videos to understand how a turbocharger works. And I was like looking at these diagrams. I was like, man, I remember thermodynamics. I love this stuff. And it's essentially like recuperating losses. So, it's funny because I think when you hear the word turbo, you think like, oh, it's a super fast sports car. And to be fair, yeah, that's how I started. But it's really a recovery mechanism. It's kind of like regenerative, like regenerative brakes on a Prius is essentially charging the battery by using, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but some sort of the brake or electrical resistance, or like use the brake resistance, and you send that energy that you store that you essentially sort of potential energy into the battery, and then the battery can kick off an electric motor, and you get this like really cool hybrid system. A turbo is something similar where you look at the exhaust gas and you use the energy in the exhaust gas to compress air that is from your environment and push that back into the cylinder. So you're increasing your oxygen in the cylinder so that when you kick off the combustion, you have more oxygen to burn and you hence get more power per every cycle.
Really?
Yeah.
Very cool. And these works.
Apparently these are a lot more standard too. Like you could get like a Toyota Camry can be equipped with a turbo to give you like more to recover some of the energy and give you more power instead of getting a bigger engine.
Is it more energy efficient in that sense?
It is.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's like a trade-off. It's like if you're operating in the higher RPMs, I guess if you're on automatic, it's a little bit more controlled. But effectively, yes, you're getting for the same amount of fuel that you're putting into each cycle, you're putting in more oxygen. So you have more material that you can allow the combustion chemical reaction to occur over. So you have less unspent fuel getting kicked back out of your cylinder for every cycle. So you get more burn per cycle, you get more power output per cycle, which means that you're also like, you have to be operating at a higher RPM. So, but then also there's a trade-off where the higher RPM you're going, the more like the less efficient it is. So it balances that out. So it's you get the turbo energy recovery if you drive faster. But yeah, even a Toyota Camry or Corolla is like these days you could get turbo equipped versions of them, which is I had no idea.
So you got a car.
It's the big thing. The thing that worried me, and when I was talking with Lee, was I was still in the state where I didn't feel I could not drive defensively. Like I didn't feel completely safe, like I learned to drive quite defensively. So if something goes wrong, either from my end or someone else or the environment around me, like I was a good enough driver where I could react to something going wrong and stay as safe as possible. When I was starting on manual, I didn't have that at all. Like I was just like, fuck, I'm like a duck in the water in like an open ocean where if something goes wrong, I'm not going to be able to react fast enough to it. And like my reaction might be wrong. Now it's in a much better spot, but it's still kind of developing.
That's good. Yeah. It's funny you said the Mustang, like a muscle car, right?
Yeah.
The last year, I believe it was last March, I went to the US for work. And I went to Palo Alto. And also visited Lee and the friends. Now, because of the nature of the location, I had to rent a car. And I booked a car. I arrived to the location. I think it was a Nationals. And I started chatting with the guy behind the counter, very friendly guy. I was explaining to him what my company does, what I do, and then what my company does, which ended up in a variety of conversation. Anyways, he said he can hook me up with a car, with an upgrade. I was like, he says, "Do you want a pickup truck?" I said, "I do not want a pickup truck."
Yeah.
See, I'm coming from here, the Netherlands, and I want the smallest 4-door car possible. That is what I want. That is what I signed up for. But he says, "Do you want a pickup truck?" I said, "Absolutely not." "Do you want a family, like wagon, family, what is it? This van?" I said, "No, definitely not. Do not. I don't need the space."
Yeah.
I said, "I just need something that has 4 doors, a sedan at most." He says, "Okay, how about a Dodge Charger?"
Yeah.
Now, this is where my knowledge on cars stop. I don't know what a Dodge Charger is. And I said, "It has 4 doors?" And he says, "Yes, this one does." I said, okay, it's not too like it's not too big or anything, is it? He said, no, it's just a charger. I was like, okay,
Just a charger.
just a charger. I get the keys. I go into the parking lot, start going to find this car, and I could immediately tell which one it is. And I immediately realized I have made a horrible mistake by driving this thing. It's a boat, Hussein. It's a freaking boat. I cannot begin to describe how unyieldy this car is. The front hood is just so big, and it's just so unnecessarily long and wider. How is it so wide? It's a boat, and it's a boat. It's a big car. And despite the fact that there's like barely any seating space in it.
Yeah. Anyways, that's right. It's all trunk space, and it's all the hood.
Lee was pleased.
Of course.
Lee was pleased.
Of course.
Rick was pleased. They were not pleased by the way I drive, which is exactly at the speed limit. That is how I'm now conditioned to drive here. And, but my God, I cannot. Muscle cars. That is the one and only time I think I will drive one. I don't know how a Mustang is. Maybe Mustangs are different, but that thing drove like a boat.
No, the Mustang, it's a light car, actually. The Mustang is a small and light car. It does have 4 seats, but the 2 back seats, I think, are like, they're not very spacious. And the entire car, so it's not a big car, it's a small car. So it actually does feel pretty light, and it is easy to maneuver. I mean, for me, my biggest struggle was learning the manual, but other than that, it can drive really smooth. Like, I still drive like a grandma as I'm learning it, but like I did play around a little bit more with speed, and it catches speed really quickly too. And I got Yeah, and I got what they call an EcoBoost, which is the smaller engine. It's not a sports car. It looks like one, but it's not one. It's like a V4, so four cylinders. It's 2 liters, which is not that big. So it can drive actually pretty well comfortably without having, without needing any aggression. The Charger, okay. So my impression of the Charger is that it from this name Charger, it sounds like it has crazy takeoff, but then the size of it is that it's like oversized, so it looks like it would lug everywhere. And in practice, I'm not really sure what that means. Like, does this thing get around well, or is it like a turtle? You're just kind of carrying a turtle on your back.
It has a lot of power, and I'm sure it can go quite fast. You start stepping into it, and it goes. You can feel that engine going, and but no, I don't need to go that fast. I do not.
I've been curious on these electrical vehicles because I've seen that their acceleration is just completely overtakes all combustion engines. So even like an oversized EV. So I think the Tesla Y is like the family version of the car, if I got that right. But even that apparently has takeoff that's like faster than even, commercial sports cars or something like that.
I think it depends on the EV. So we have an EV, and we have a Peugeot.
Yeah.
And that thing accelerates really nicely. I was surprised how smooth it is. But now, before that, we were driving a car share, and typically we drove this thing called the Renault Zoe. And that is a little bit older, I think. No, that's a struggle. You're like pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
And it's just, you don't feel the difference.
Wow.
It just tops out 100 kilometers per hour. It can't go any faster. At least I couldn't make it to go any faster. No.
I mean, I think the writing is on the wall with the EVs. Like, it's quieter, it's smoother. I understand the maintenance is easier. I think it's just a question of getting the grid part resolved better,
That's
because the
true.
battery
Yeah.
is there as well. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's either going to be solar or nuclear. I think it's actually going to be a little bit of both. That's in the next 10 years that will change a lot of our energy inputs.
Yeah.
But with the electric vehicle, I think the original prototype is more than 100 years old, or about 100 years old, where the first EV came out. I don't remember what all the issues were, but like it did work and it did have a prototype, and it's possible they even had a commercially available one, but it flopped, and I don't recall the reasons. My guess, and I could be wrong, is that it had to do with fire hazard and battery technology from 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's come a long way.
I wouldn't be surprised. The amount of energy that is required to generate it, right? If it's 100 years ago, I can imagine this. It was severely limited.
Yeah.
Battery
it could have been.
too.
It could have just been that. It could have been charging technology or battery replacements or like swaps or something like that. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
There are two, I think, challenges that solves that have been difficult, especially if your source is solar. One is just more batteries, like the volume of batteries. So this is a nice way to kind of hybridize your battery investment from your car into your house, and you kind of take your energy source with you as you need it. And then the other issue is, so battery is storage is expensive for electricity, compared to something like a tank of gas. And then the other thing is, we don't control the supply of solar, in a sense that we don't decide when sunshine comes through. And even when it comes through, we need to collect it so we can, power what we need. So to deal with sort of those variations, say in the evening you have your lights on, you take a shower, you cook, it's nighttime, so you don't even have a recharging source at that moment from the sun. This is kind of one of those interesting trade-offs about nuclear, where one of the strengths of nuclear is you can generate a lot of energy, but the startup and shutdown time is actually pretty slow. So it's very poorly reactive. So it can oversupply. That's fine. But then you're wasting a ton of energy because you still need to store what you're not using. So it's good at setting up a baseline, but it's not very good at like spinning up or spinning down when you need it, especially if it's unpredictable. Whereas something like gas and coal, you could burn on demand in a much more reactive state.
That's right.
So it's like, that's why there's no fuel is still dominant, but it's why the solution is not going to be a single solution. Like, it's not going to be solar alone, unless battery technology and cost just completely take off, and they might. It may not be nuclear dominant because it's the time to spin up a nuclear plant, first of all, and then, the day-to-day reactions is too slow.
And also with nuclear is the environmental concern about the nuclear waste too.
There are concerns about those. We are 60 years or 70 years into the research. I saw that there are a lot better forms of protection for nuclear waste. There's a couple of concerns. One is like leaks, leaking of nuclear waste into workers or the surrounding towns. Of course, the workers that are exposed to it. And then there's also like the more nefarious concern, which is that, it could be repurposed for weapon grade nuclear. But there are things to be said about that. One thing one of these things I would like to do is to bring on a nuclear specialist and to like address some of those concerns with someone who's thought about these things and hasn't like just tossed them aside. Someone who's can speak like properly both to the physics, the science, and the environmental impacts, and the trade-offs with other solutions. Because I think that's one of the issues, is that there are trade-offs to all of them. There's no question that fuel is like the long-term solution indefinitely. But what the trade-offs are for all the others, whether economically or environmentally, I think part of it is just researching better solutions and hoping that a better solution does exist. And understanding like the limitations of them. Like, with solar earlier on, some of the limitations were obviously cost, which has come down by order, I think maybe even 2 orders of magnitude since the last 20 years. Some of the issues that we just talked about. And then also space. Like a lot of the land that you need, typically it's not, I mean, I think deserts are the best place to put these these solar panels. The maintenance cost goes up because sand and abrasion can damage the solar cells at the top. So you have to spend time and energy on maintenance and cleaning and making sure they're up to par. But I think like desert land is really the best place to put these panels. And another solution that I really liked was to put them on top of houses. I thought that was genius because, that's dead space anyway. Like unless you have a sunroof or something like that. But you have nothing going on underneath, or like carports or garages or stuff like that. Like space that's not being used, any land that is not being used for food, for farmland, it's a prime place to put up solar panels. I remember I came across this idea like 10 years ago, and I thought it would have happened by now. So I think I was just ill-informed. But the idea was to build solar panels above the Sahara Desert, and to build an industry in those northern, like between northern and southern African nations, to have like some sort of a coalition where they have an industry of harnessing the solar energy and then packaging it into like pre-charged batteries or rechargeable batteries or something like that. And I'm not sure if that's an economic issue where they can't like set up the infrastructure and then have a cheap way to send batteries back and forth, or what the issue is. But it still sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, at least in Europe, there's ideas about having solar panels in Africa or Spain. Spain, there's quite a lot of open, arid, dry and warm lands with a lot of sun, and having that be the power source for majority of EU. The bottleneck is actually political. So France has many nuclear power, and that is their primary source of power.
Yeah.
And so they have no interest in funding a project like this, nor do they want to help establishing a power grid that helps power being transferred from Spain all the way to Netherlands, for example, because it goes through these countries. And so it becomes a political aspect here of what people want. There's each of the countries have different approaches that they want to take. And yeah, it would help to have a little bit more uniformity. But ultimately it depends on the culture too.
Yeah. I'm long-term optimistic on a lot of these things. Like where there are human issues, I think we eventually find a solution to them, even if it's long-term. Like it might be short-term solutions don't take us in the right direction, but over the long run, I think we get there. Like an example I like to think about is leeches. Remember back in the day, doctors would just like put a leech on you to remove blood because they thought that if you're sick, your blood is messed up in a way that a leech could remove or filter or whatever. So medicine was clearly going in the wrong direction. But now here we are, we're like, oh yeah, you know what? Drink water, get some rest. Don't like remove your blood at all or with leeches, we can do some tests if you need antibiotics. We have those, but the development of medicine is overall quite positive. And like, I think we're always going to make detours and wrong turns, and whatever the motivation, it's, I think sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's nefarious, but ultimately I'm optimistic with this human experiment.
Well, at the very least, out of necessity, we may need to coordinate better. Right.
This is back to those days living with Lee where we would watch like those zombie apocalypse films and we're like, well, if we get hit by an apocalypse, how are we going to survive? it's a fun thought experiment. I don't know why. I think that's this is built in where it's like, if we lose all this, if we lose our ability to manufacture clothes and homes and we're just left with what we have in our fridge and the clothes on our back and we recreate society, or at least can we survive until we encounter a fork in the road where we can recreate civil society. How would it look? And I wonder, man, I wonder. I think I don't know, man. A lot of times I think I would like to have a time machine where I could go back and look upon the Babylonians. I can look upon the Egyptians. I can look upon the Israelites. I can look upon the Romans, the Greeks, the Aramaics, the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Wild West in America, and just see like how they developed their towns and cities.
Yeah. It'll be there's so much that is lost in history.
Yeah.
I was reading about the origins of Japan, or at least there are two publications, books, documents, written material that is considered to be the oldest collection of Japanese history. They were both published around 780 under the order of the emperor at the time. And one is the Kojiki, which means the records of old businesses, or what happened in the olden days. And the second one is Nihon Shoki, which is the written history of Japan.
Because that's also 780, roughly.
Yes, they were both ordered, I believe, by the same emperor to write down. This Kojiki writes about the beginnings of Japan, specifically beginnings of, for example, the emperors, the line, and starts with the Age of Gods. So it's actually more of a mythology book. But through this, I learned that I don't remember how many lines, how many emperors have been in Japan now. But in the idea is that the line of succession has been the same since the beginning of humanity.
Line of succession and like the hereditary line?
Yes, the hereditary line is still the same. It's still the same line of succession. But the first emperor that can be based on archaeological and historical evidence be confirmed to have actually existed is the 26th emperor. The first 25 are in the line, in the levels or the area of legends. And they cannot be archaeologically and historical confirmed from documents and etc. There is no historical evidence that actually proves their existence, which is really interesting. There's 25 of them. And the first actually is Jinmu Tenno, and he is supposed to be, child of gods that created, the grandson of gods that created Japan itself, the island itself. But the first record of Japan, or at least the what's called the people of Wa, the country of Wa, shows up in the tales of the Three Kingdoms in China. This was written, I don't remember when. It's even further. It talks about in the south of China, a land that has the country of Wa, which is presumably the first, the oldest of civilization, or oldest of empire or a kingdom in Japan. And this was led by a female, a queen, a shaman actually, named Himiko. And this is actually the first recorded instance of Japan. And from there, there's records saying that they had some interaction with China, and eventually the name Japan came upon, or Nippon, which means where the sun rises, the country where the sun rises. And otherwise, there's these publications written in 700 AD. And at this point, there's all the history about the previous emperors, what has happened in Japan, but none of that is confirmed. And that's 700 AD. And you then start thinking, okay, so then we start hearing about what was written records in Egypt in 2000 BC, right? The pyramids were already made in 2000 or 4000 BC, 2000 BC, I think. There's entire cultures and civilization of the Indus Valley in India, where there is script found on archaeological findings, but no one has been able to decipher it. They don't know what is written on it. It's completely a mystery. And then there is all of the written records and stories about the beginnings of China, with many nations, wars, you name it. Majority of them are in the lines of mythology, because most of them cannot be archaeologically confirmed. And which makes me wonder where this is all going to go 4,000 years from now. So if we go to the museum now and we see the Rosetta Stone that was found in the Dead Sea, it is an iconic document because it is written in multiple languages. It has allowed the understanding of how to decipher the language at the time. But that is one single written block of stone. Now we are in an age where there is incredible, ridiculous amounts of social media content being generated on every second. Everything as silly as a picture of a cat taking a nap, all the way to like people having political conversations, or this podcast itself. How are all of this going to be kept and made accessible 4,000 years from now?
Yeah.
I can't plausibly think it's possible.
It's a really good question. I mean, I sometimes think about this also, you know, when aliens finally come and visit our mostly harmless Earth, what they're gonna do with our data, right? So, because it's one thing to say, okay, a lot of the content we've generated now is digitally stored, which means that if you want to recover it, you have to figure out like, what do the bits and bytes mean in some sort of storage technology. So I think it's fair to assume that an advanced civilization outside of Earth would understand like bits and bytes, or at least they would have gone through a digital age, and maybe they've superseded that with like a quantum age or something that we haven't even thought about yet, like a string age or something. But I imagine they would look at our data and have at least some precursory understanding of what the digital age is for us. But yeah, it's a good point that it's a lot harder to recover an email in a supposedly secure server that lives at Google, as opposed to, say, something like clay stones with some writing that is on it. So I think there's two issues here. One is, whatever artifacts we have from that time is what has survived erosion or hasn't been burned by like invading conquests, right? Like it was not an odd thing for some tribe or some civilization to invade a city and then destroy whatever was there in their temples and their holy resources. And like writing was a very rare thing until the Gutenberg press, right? Like not many people could read or write, and whatever was written or was archaeological, or it was like historical, or it was like accounting. It was like you gave me 20 bushels of wheat and I gave you a horse or something like that. But it wasn't until like the 1400s that writing really took off to and for the masses. So anything before that is like, we have such limited information. And you know, there's that saying that history is written by the victors. Well, it's easy to say that when, you know, the records until the 14 or 1500s were much less in volume. Anything that was replicated by hand, and these guys had like phenomenal handwriting. Like being a scribe was, it was a profession. So two things I think have happened is, one, we're now storing content digitally, and then the other one is just exactly as you said. The amount of data that is being generated in this digital age is exponentially larger than it was 10 years ago, which is exponentially larger than it was 20 years ago, and which is exponentially larger than it was 30 or 40 years ago. So who knows what's going to stick around? And man, now, AI generated digital content is getting more and more comparable to the real thing. Like you mentioned earlier about a good movie that may never get made, and I'm hopeful that these AI tools will allow independent filmmakers to say, hey, you know what, I've got this awesome story idea. I'm not going to get any funding for it, or like I'm just trying to break in, so I don't have any resources. And then they create their own like 10-minute short completely with them, completely with AI. So who knows what in 4,000 years they'll even say, oh, this is human and this is non-human, or, like, will they be able to distinguish with an AI watermark or not? I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know. We are already at the point where we cannot distinguish certain media from whether it's AI generated or real.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then this is only gonna get undesirable, decipherable in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
And then that's the standard from then on.
Yeah.
But this, which actually goes to, like, we were touching upon AI generated music, right? And AI generated music, if you ask musicians, it is very controversial, naturally, very threatening for a lot of musicians. It's very threatening for a lot of visual artists also. But I see this as a shift in the value of within music, what becomes even more important and valuable. And it is no longer, I was already seeing that the value of recorded music was clearly different from where it was when Keith Richards was listening to records. Spotify is free. There's ridiculous amounts of music on there, free for access. Musicians are getting paid less and less for recorded music, whereas they used to get contracts for entire albums. The value of recorded music has dropped, in other words. It's partly because of the accessibility to recording devices, recording technology, just like how I'm recording my voice right now, has made this possible. And AI music now takes away even the entire necessity to record in the first place.
Yeah.
But then this means that the higher value comes from organic elements of music.
Yeah.
It is what you hear in front of you in a live setting.
Yeah.
And even within the live setting, perhaps not even like plugged in, You have one acoustic guitar in front of you with one person playing in a small room. That is as organic as it gets. And perhaps that is the most valuable form of music that is going to be available now.
Yeah.
We can't even expect certain big pop stars to be singing properly, in stadiums. They could be lip syncing.
Right.
All of them could be recorded. Sometimes they are. That is already in the realm of not real, you can say.
Yeah.
But then the what is real becomes even more valuable.
Yeah. Dude, autotune was a step in the wrong direction. The first time I heard autotune, I was absolutely disgusted by it. I hated it then, I hate it now. But it's funny because I was listening to a documentary, and I don't remember who the artist was. But they said it was kind of fun. They're like, back in the day, it used to be that we would cut records so we could sell concert tickets, and then it became, well, we no, it was the other way around. We were doing concerts so we could sell records, and then it became, well, we were cutting records so we could sell concerts, and then it went back to doing concerts to sell records, or like it's kind of going back and forth. And the point is, now the business model for a professional is that the music is relatively cheap to, like, the distribution. They don't get much from distribution, but they make their living off of doing shows. And I think you and I are similar on this. I prefer to watch like an analog show. Like, I love to just have a band up there and just play, just sing, just do their own thing. And like, we've both been to large concerts like that, and it's really cool to see that live. It is definitely a different experience. But I think the pop music world has gone in a different direction, where they don't sell the music, they sell a visual extravaganza. I've actually never been to one, but I hear like it's a big show with like dancing, lights, it's fire, there's a lot of choreography, and like if you I've seen a handful of live events, live music events, where they do an entire show on stage, just do like one or two. And that's like what's expected when you go to a concert these days. So when you go to a concert with a well-known pop artist, the expectation isn't just them singing to the music; it's them doing an entire visual show for you. So that's kind of changed. But I agree with you, man. I do think that with all the changes we're going to see in AI, especially generated content, the value is going to be in what's more human and what's more intimate. Yeah. So another reason I started this podcast, because I do think there is a future to have, like, just real normal conversation. In fact, I would like to see a world where I think since Facebook, say like MySpace, Facebook, Friendster, now Instagram, and all this stuff, where our lives have gone digital, I do think there's going to be a rebound back to say, what is more in-person human experiences. And perhaps that's wishful thinking. I mean, as you mentioned, your friend's son has a much, like, the way he's experiencing his childhood is quite different than how we experience it, and the way he's experiencing the modern digital age is quite different than, I think, the way you and I are treating it. Like, I don't believe you have much social media, if any. I don't know. I could even be wrong about that. I consider you one of my closer friends, and I don't even, like, if you're on social media, we're not even connected on that, because, like, it doesn't matter to us,
I guess I have a Reddit account, or I read Reddit.
I don't have Reddit, so.
Oh, you don't have Reddit?
I don't have Reddit. I have Grok, which spits out Reddit for me.
And even Reddit these days, it's strictly for gathering information. Right? It's practically Google-ish. Not Google, but I don't post it. I don't engage. I don't put any comments. I don't engage in the conversation. It's used for information gathering. Yeah.
I mean, I remember back before, like, I finally signed up for Twitter around COVID, but before I was on Twitter, I was going to, I would search Google, and then Google, oftentimes it would just direct me back to Reddit. And I might have an account that I created because it would lock me out if I try to read too much. But I don't remember. But I think now I kind of, I use some form of Twitter, Grok, and Google these days to navigate information, and YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah. But do you comment on YouTube videos?
No, I don't comment on YouTube. I don't think I comment on anything, actually.
Yeah.
No, I was starting to comment on Twitter, but then I was like, it wasn't worth the time or energy, I felt. Otherwise, I've never really engaged in like the being part of like communities. Like even with Facebook, I mean the only time I really used Facebook was when it was locked down to college students. And at that time, I remember I was connecting with a lot of people when I was in college.
Yeah.
And then once they opened it up to everybody, I immediately started using it less, and I eventually just deleted it.
Yeah. Even Facebook, I remember I didn't have it for a while, even in college times, because I was like, I just think this is kind of silly. And to some extent, I think there's still a level of suspicion about social media from my side. But I made my first LinkedIn post the other day, so hey, yeah. It's just I was told to please repost that we are hiring. I was like, fine, I'll do it. And then LinkedIn was like, congratulations for your first post. Yeah. You've had LinkedIn for how long? I will avoid you at all costs if I can.
Yeah, it draws some like confetti for you and stuff like that.
Yeah, probably. Jesus.
Dude, I remember at one of my jobs, I had LinkedIn and recruiter, I think it was a recruiter, reached out and he was like, hey, can you post something for us? And I was like, no, I cannot.
No.
Yeah, apparently most of the company did it. And I was just like, no, I'm no, I have no interest in engaging in LinkedIn. I do have an Instagram, but I don't like it's similar. I don't post or anything like that. Yeah. It's
I think LinkedIn is slowly becoming the way that some people who actually want to reach out to me reach out to, because I don't have Facebook, I don't have Instagram. My phone number has changed at least twice in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I just generally don't keep in touch with many people. So Eric, for example, messaged me. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. This is probably the only way you can contact me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I get the messages I try to ignore. I also ignore LinkedIn for the most part because there's too many messages from people I don't know. Like I'm getting a message from someone from Korea. Like I have no relation with you. And I'm not interested in having business with you.
Yeah.
Because I am not representing my company necessarily in this case.
Yeah.
LinkedIn
is an odd one where it's like I see it as professional virtue signaling is how I interpret it these days. It's like it just feels so inauthentic. The thing I like about X is that it feels authentic. As crazy as X is, it's like, oh, these are people just being themselves. Like I feel that when I see X. I'm like, oh yeah, you're being you for better or worse. I don't think you're hiding who you are. Instagram I feel is too polished. So it's like people really clean up whatever, like everything you put is extremely polished on there. It's not raw at all. And then LinkedIn is like a professional version of polish. So I don't really follow that. Like, in terms of all this AI and tech stuff, like I don't follow tech or AI on LinkedIn because I think I've seen enough times where people don't know what they're talking about, try to pretend that they do. And then like a lot of stuff I see on LinkedIn is like, this is not at all the way actual, engineers are using this, or this is so far from what's realistic. And I remember seeing that during the crypto phase. So the whole idea of blockchain is that you have a data store that's decentralized, so nobody owns that data store. Nobody can do a write or update that data or modify that data without every other computer or consensus mechanism agreeing to update it. And so it's actually expensive to run. Like one row of data to store on a blockchain is orders of magnitude more expensive than using a single cloud database. And I remember this was I remember getting into an argument, and it was such a waste of an hour with someone who was like, no, blockchain should be used for all databases and all our applications. And I was like, that's going to cost you $1,000, like 1,000x in cost. This guy was like, I was like, okay, well, I got upset and angry about nothing. And I learned I should not get into those arguments again. So, that would be like, if I engage with LinkedIn, if I engage with Reddit, I would end up like riling myself up for no reason. It's like that.
I see what you mean.
And here's the funny thing is, like, probably half the time I'm wrong too. So I would end up going on this like rant. Well, listen, Ray, we got 3.5 in. We got
3.5. It's like midnight here. But this is a great format. We're still able to dedicate a good 4 hours worth of talking.
I very much enjoyed this. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna stop the recording. We can hang out for a little bit more. But I will let you get to bed sooner than later.
Sounds good, man.
All right, let me cut this. Bye all.